In a world bound by strict laws, every soul awakens with a single element and one destined class. However, one anomaly defies the heavens, awakening all 5 elements simultaneously. The system whispers of a forbidden privilege granted only to him. With this heaven-defying authority, he can select any class linked to his elemental affinity as his starting path. But that is merely the beginning. Once an element gathers sufficient spiritual energy, he can shatter his limits, unlocking new classes or evolving his current power to a legendary tier. This grants him the potential for infinite awakenings. For now, he seizes a one-time opportunity to choose his foundation, knowing he retains the power to acquire everything else in the future. Moments later, destiny is sealed. Bayi makes his selection and steps out of the awakening chamber, his expression unreadable. Teacher Huang gazes at him with eyes full of anticipation, but Bayi simply sighs, masking his true power, and claims he awakened as a nuclear warrior at dust rank, the absolute trash tier. Disappointment flashes across the teacher's face, yet she forces a smile, encouraging him that even a lowly dust rank can ascend the heavens with enough blood and sweat. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifts as the class tyrant steps forward, his aura dripping with malice and mockery. Hong Chong sneers, declaring that the weak exist solely to be trampled underfoot. Bayi offers no rebuttal. Instead, he steps in, crushes the cup in Hong Chong's hand, and silences the room. Liquid explodes across the bully's face. With chilling calm, Bayi whispers that he despises the sound of Hong Chong's voice, humiliated and enraged. The bully snaps, he roars, unleashing his strongest punch, pouring every ounce of his energy into a lethal strike. Bayi activates his hidden mastery block and parry. He halts the devastating attack in an instant, as if swatting a fly. With a single, fluid motion, Hong Chong is sent flying through the air, crashing into the ground as blood sprays from his lips. The entire class freezes in terror. Hong Chong screams in fury, boasting of his abyss rank status and claiming Bayi merely got lucky. He swears to crush him next time, but Teacher Huang stands paralyzed in shock. She realizes the truth. That was no fluke. It was a supreme warrior technique, a perfect parry executed with a reaction time of 0.09 seconds. That is a realm of mastery even veteran instructors struggle to reach after 10 years of training. Yet, Bayi performed it as effortlessly as breathing. Little do they know, he's not just a student, he's a regressor, and he's using the very techniques that defined his previous life. This tale centers on our protagonist. Bayi, once the supreme ruler and commander of humanity's strongest awakened squad, he stood at the pinnacle, conquering the world, until his reality was shattered by the ultimate betrayal. A comrade he called brother, trusted blindly, stabbed him in the back without hesitation. The pain cut deeper than any steel, for the wound was inflicted by the one person he would have died to protect. Bayi watched helplessly as his beloved squad was slaughtered before his eyes. He too faced annihilation. But fate had one final twist in store for his destiny. It began in the void, where he encountered the spirit of the Demon King Belelfigore, an entity he thought he had slain long ago. The Demon King, amused by his resolve, offered him a second chance at existence through the forbidden art of regression. But there was more. Bayi received a peculiar, ancient heart, an artifact with the terrifying potential to amplify his strength beyond all logic. In a flash of light, time rewound 20 years. Bayi opens his eyes to see Teacher Huang standing before him, scolding him for napping moments before the grand awakening ceremony. A wave of overwhelming shock crashes over him as reality sets in. He is back. Back in his middle school days, standing on the precipice of the event that started it all. As he walks toward the back of the classroom, a sense of surrealism hits him. He hasn't seen these youthful faces in nearly 2 decades. When Bayi takes his seat, Teacher Huang resumes her lecture, explaining the fundamental laws of this era, the 5 elemental powers that govern the world: lightning, flower, cloud, nuclear, and stellar. The iron rule states that a human vessel can only contain a single element. Teacher Huang demonstrates her own power, revealing the rare cloud element. She explains that depending on compatibility, awakeners fall into 3 distinct archetypes: the vanguard combatants, the strategic supporters, and the mysterious specials. Mixing these 5 elements with different roles births the countless professions that sustain their society. She describes the ultimate party composition: a stellar mage, cloud warrior, nuclear bard, enlightening assistants. Nearly 100 recognized paths to power exist. These professions are strictly ranked by potential: the lowly dust, the burning ember, the deep abyss, and the godlike celestial. The teacher's voice turns grave as she emphasizes the gravity of this day. They get one shot at awakening, one chance to define their existence. The profession bestowed upon them today will determine whether they rule as kings or serve as pawns for the rest of their lives. Later, as Bayi strolls through the school grounds, he gazes up at the imposing building. A quiet melancholy settles in his heart as he remembers this is where his legendary journey first began. His nostalgia is violently interrupted as a student collapses near his feet. Bayi turns to see a group of seniors tormenting the fallen boy, a student he recognizes as Four Eyes. The senior mocks the boy for depending on an artificial awakening, sneering that trash like him will never compare to a rare red tier awakener. Bayi's eyes narrow. He instantly recognizes the bully as a notorious troublemaker from his past life. Just then, Teacher Huang arrives on the scene, her voice sharp as she scolds the seniors for their disgraceful conduct. The bully is quick to lie, fabricating a story that the younger student was the one who clumsily bumped into him. With a smug, predatory grin, he leans in close to Miss Huang, whispering a threat that targets her career. As the gang saunters away, one of them deliberately shoves Bayi, testing his patience. Teacher Huang wastes no time, immediately assisting the fallen junior to regain his footing. Chaos interrupts the moment as students rush over with urgent news. It is finally time for her class to undergo the awakening ritual. She rallies her students, her voice commanding absolute focus. They must maintain perfect tranquility or risk devastating spiritual injury during the process. Our protagonist reflects on the laws of this world. There are only two paths to power. The first is natural awakening, a miracle possessed by the prodigy, Senior Hong Chong. It is a gift reserved for those with monstrous physical potential, triggering automatically when their emotions scream at the absolute breaking point. The second path relies on the awakening chamber, the crystallized pinnacle of humanity's scientific genius. Inside this steel sarcophagus, a candidate's adrenaline and emotions are artificially driven to their zenith, forcing the dormant potential to violently erupt. Now, fate calls Bayi's name. Teacher Huang summons him forward, warning him sharply not to slack off like he usually does during lectures. Our hero steps into the machine with the quiet confidence of a veteran. In his previous timeline, Bayi had awakened as an E-rank nuclear warrior, a trash tier profession. That weak class had brought him nothing but endless mockery. But he knows that later, even a lowly class can evolve into an S-rank legend, the rarest of them all. This time, possessing the volatile nuclear element once more, he wonders, what destiny awaits him now? Suddenly, the system detects not one phase, but 5 distinct elements. An overwhelming surge of magma-like heat roars through his veins, as if his very soul is about to incinerate. The system speaks because his body houses 5 elemental affinities. He is granted a divine privilege, the freedom to choose his initial path from any of these absolute powers. Furthermore, once a specific element gathers sufficient energy, he can either unlock a blind box class for that element or evolve his current power into a higher, more terrifying form. As the revelation hits, Bayi realizes the truth. The heart of Belelfigore, bestowed upon him in the shadows, has birthed this miracle. It has granted him a god-tier cheat, the ability of infinite awakenings. This is a singular moment in history. A chance for Bayi to define his origin while holding the key to unlock limitless professions in the future. The system issues a final warning: choose wisely. Moments later, the chamber door hisses open, and our boy steps back into reality. Teacher Huang gazes at him with high hopes, but Bayi wears a mask of disappointment. He lies, claiming he has awakened as a mere nuclear warrior, with the lowest trash tier green quality. The teacher tries to salvage his morale, insisting that even among green quality awakeners, many have ascended to legendary status. She gently urges him to rest and hold on to hope, but as they turn to leave, Hong Chong stands nearby, a cruel smirk twisting his face as he mocks that Bayi will need a miracle, not just hard work. His voice drips with venomous arrogance as he sneers at Teacher Huang, ridiculing her pathetic, delusional optimism. The bully's lackey chimes in, laughing that the dusk rank quality confirms Bayi belongs at the absolute bottom of the food chain. Hong Chang coldly declares the brutal truth of this world. The heavens choose the strong, The weak exist only to be crushed beneath our feet. Trash tier awakeners are destined to rot in the back row for eternity. This is the law of society. No power means no future. You belong in the shadows, abandoned by fairness. The strong devour the weak, monopolizing every resource to become untouchable gods. From the moment a piece of trash awakens, their fate is sealed in stone, condemned to remain maggots at the bottom of the awakened hierarchy. He spits on our hero's dignity, telling the dusk-rank trash to crawl back home rather than wasting the government's precious air. That does it. Bayi steps forward and snatches the drink from the bully's hand. The cup explodes violently, drenching Hong's arrogant face. Bayi speaks with bone-chilling coldness, stating he hates the sound of Hong's voice. Enraged, the senior roars and winds up a devastating punch. As the fist hurtles towards him, Bayi's eyes flash. Skill-activated block to halt the momentum, and parry to reverse the force. Boom! In a split second, the senior is blasted backward, crashing into the ground with blood spilling from his lips. The onlookers are paralyzed, their jaws dropping in absolute disbelief. Bayi smirks. He chose the trash rank on purpose because he knows its true value. Meanwhile, Hong screams that he is a rare abyss rank, a being that should be untouchable by the likes of Bayi. Teacher Huang watches, realizing this was no mere stroke of luck. She analyzes the motion Bayi executed a god-tier warrior technique, parry. Neutralizing the damage at the exact microsecond of impact, she is trembling. His reaction time was an impossible 0.0909 seconds. He reflected 100% of the physical damage. That is a mastery that even veteran instructors struggle to achieve after 10 years of blood and sweat. The bully howls, swearing to make Bayi crawl like a dog. Yet, our hero stands immovable, his eyes calm and cold. He knows exactly what he's doing. After all, he deliberately selected this weakest class with full intent. In Bayi's eyes, judging a warrior's destiny based on their starting stats is a fatal error, a lesson the world will learn the hard way in the years to come. The crowd begins to pity him, whispering that the trash tier boy is about to be slaughtered. Little do they know, the predator is actually the one standing quietly in the center. One student whispers the harsh reality: Hong Chong Sen comes from a prestigious lineage, his uncle reigning as the academy's dean. In stark contrast, Bayi is a nobody from a destitute family with zero influence. Four Eyes trembles with anxiety. Suddenly realizing the grave danger, Bayi could face immediate expulsion for daring to raise a hand against a senior. Teacher Huang steps in to interrupt the escalating tension, warning them that their battles belong in the future. They have only just awakened and must conserve their energy. But the arrogance of the bully knows no bounds. He roars at the teacher to back off. His junior dared to provoke him, and he vows he won't stop until Bayi is on his knees, begging for mercy. Teacher Huang freezes, hesitation flickering in his eyes, forced to admit the boy has a point. In this world, the gap between humans is dictated by the ruthless mathematics of attribute bonuses. A dust rank warrior receives a 100% baseline, no bonus at all. A glimmer ranker enjoys 150%, while the elite abyss rank is gifted a staggering 200% from the very split second of awakening. An abyss ranker possesses double the power of a dust ranker, an insurmountable wall of strength that destiny refuses to let the weak climb. Four Eyes looks at his friend, realizing just how crushed Bayi must feel, desperate to understand why he would court death by offending someone so overwhelmingly superior. In his eyes, survival in this cruel society requires submission. Only those who know how to bend and kneel can live, while confronting a titan head-on is nothing short of suicide. But logic does not apply here. Hong Chong Sen charges forward with killing intent. The teacher gasps, wondering how our boy can possibly use parry again. The skill consumes a massive amount of stamina, and Hong's attack power is simply too devastating. However, the moment Hong attacks, Bayi's body moves like a phantom. He triggers a dodge skill automatically, sending the bully crashing into the dirt, coughing up blood. The spectators stand frozen in perplexed silence, their minds unable to process the impossible sight. Even the teacher is left dumbfounded by the turn of events. Only class president Chi-Yin sees the truth, piecing together the terrifying reality in her mind. When the enemy attacked, Bayi didn't just dodge, he activated the unique warrior technique Swiftness, the advanced evolution of Flash Blink. This implies that Bayi has not only mastered the absolute peak of a warrior's basic arts, but can weave them seamlessly into life or death combat. Our prodigy realizes his theory was correct. Fighting within his profession grants professional experience, and crushing an elemental opponent yields elemental points. His eyes gleam with ambition. He decides to start clearing labyrinths immediately to farm more power. The bully shrieks like a banshee, refusing to let him leave and trying to launch another assault, but he is instantly shut down by the imposing presence of Dean Hong Liang. The dean commands the students to disperse, reminding them that the weekend has begun. But as the word home echoes in Bayi's ears, a shockwave of memory hits him. May 22nd, 2105. This is the divergence point of his fate. Panic explodes in his chest and he sprints away from the school. The dean attempts to call him back, but Bayi ignores all authority. The dean turns his sharp gaze to the teacher, ordering her to control her students better, leaving her to apologize in fear. Later, in the dean's office, Hong insists our hero merely got lucky, but the dean silences him with a cold glare. Bayi did something extraordinary today. When the attack came, he didn't just move, he utilized the high-level technique, flash blink. More importantly, in that fraction of a second before blinking, he identified the fatal weak point on Hong's body and struck it with enough precision to shatter his defense instantly. This entire sequence of devastation was executed using only basic warrior skills. Even the dean, with 15 years of blood-soaked battlefield experience, admits he couldn't replicate such proficiency. This boy is not simple trash, he is a monster in disguise. Meanwhile, our hero runs with his heart pounding against his ribs, knowing that beyond his desire for revenge, this is the single most critical mission of his second life. He must stop the tragedy, even if the price is his own soul. Arriving home, tears blur his vision as he sees the impossible. His mother is alive. His father, lounging in the living room, barely glances up from the television to complain about his son's early return. Bayi's beloved mother, silenced by disability, uses sign language to tell him she has prepared hot and sour noodles with love. Bayi forces a smile and claims he craves pickled fish today, a desperate lie engineered to get his mother out of the house and out of danger. He moves to accompany her, but his father barks a command, stopping him in his tracks. His mother can go alone. As Bayi turns to face the man, his father demands to know the results of the ceremony. He expects greatness. After all, he is the son of Biling, the renowned electric warrior. Bayi lies through his teeth, claiming he didn't get the chance to awaken today because the ceremony dragged on too long. Biling sneers, mentioning that their neighbor's son awakened as a glimmer rank, throwing a venomous comment about how both father and son next door are worthless trash. His tone sharpens into a blade as he brags that he awakened as an abyss ranker with nothing to his name, and he demands nothing less from his own blood. He lists every sacrifice he made, working his tail off to support this family. Before shrieking for an answer, our boy remains silent as a stone. Rage takes over. The father smashes a glass bottle over his son's head. A verdant aura erupts from Bayi's body, revealing the undeniable truth: he's a dust ranker. The father screams in disbelief, furious that his son pretended to be diligent only to awaken as the lowest of the low, a filthy dust ranker. Fate rewinds to the very moment the nightmare began in his past life. When his father discovers his pathetic awakening rank, the household becomes a battlefield. His mother acts as a human shield. For one agonizing hour, the tyrant vents his fury upon her. That day, Bone snapped, and her mind was shattered forever. In that tragic past, our hero stood frozen, too weak to change destiny. But this timeline is different. He has awakened as a nuclear warrior, a class he chose specifically for its hidden potential. Standing before him is his father, a C-class abyss ranker. Unlike a novice, this man is a veteran of bloodshed. Bayi is just relieved he managed to get his mother out of the house. Wrath consumes Ling Shang's eyes as he strikes his son, but then, a cruel twist of fate, Bayi sees his mother returning. Driven by maternal instinct, she has come back solely to feed him. The monster turns his rage toward her, cursing the trash she birthed. Suddenly, a dark memory seizes Bayi, the cold walls of a prison cell. An interrogator sits opposite him, demanding the truth of his crime. Broken and hollow, he confesses his father deserved death for brutally murdering his mother. Reality snaps back into focus, and Awakened, even without skills, possesses physical strength far beyond mortal limits. A single punch from such an existence would liquidate the organs of a normal human. Bayi collapses as the heavy blow connects, but before the finisher lands, his mother throws herself into the line of fire. Ling Xing sneers, twisted nostalgia surfacing. He remembers the day he learned she was pregnant with a son. He had believed this child would be the messiah to restore the B family's glory. Arrogance blinded him. He was convinced the ancestors smiled upon him alone. Now, he shrieks at his wife. He blames her inferior bloodline for producing such a worthless, low-tier failure. His hand raises to strike, but in a split second, Bayi activates Flash Blink. He materializes between them to block the blow. Eyes burning with infernal rage, Bayi issues a final warning. Do not touch her again. Lingxiang's lips curl into a twisted smirk. He finds this rebellion amusing. Bayi attempts a parry, but his blade shatters on impact. In that second, the terrifying truth crashes down on him. The gap in their power is an ocean. Agony rips through his entire nervous system. Blood sprays from his face, his ribs scream under the pressure, yet his resistance only fuels the monster's fury. Black lightning crackles around Lingxiang's fist, a death blow, but this time, our boy plants his feet. He will not move. The father curses his son's very breath, declaring him a stain that must be erased. Bayi swears on his soul that history will not repeat. Lingxiang grabs a chair, coldly reminding him who rules this hell. Suddenly, a thunderous command echoes from outside. Open the door. The tyrant opens it to face the law. Inspectorate Deputy Captain Liang and Investigator Chen stand ready. They explain they are hunting a wanted fugitive named Snow. They demand to know if any suspicious figures have been seen. Lingxiang puts on a mask of innocence, hastily claiming he knows nothing of the criminal. But the inspector's sharp gaze lands on Bayi. The boy's a bloody mess. Without missing a beat, the father lies. He claims the clumsy boy fell. Just a grocery accident, a trivial domestic issue, not worth the officer's time. But Bayi finds his voice through the pain. He shatters the lie. It was his father who dealt the blows. 18 minutes ago, the trap was set. Our tactical genius had already called the authorities about the fugitive Snow. Inspector Liang turns his steel gaze back to the boy. Is this true? The father panics, swearing he would never harm his own flesh and blood. Bayi steps into the light. He calmly points out the wounds, a stool to the arm, a wine bottle to the head. The evidence is carved into his skin, ready for forensic evaluation. He recites the Awakener management regulations like a scholar. Chapter 8, Article 4. Uncontrolled violence demands immediate detention. Lingxiang attempts to silence him, but the law steps in. You are under arrest. The officers tackle the beast as he lunges for his son. As the nightmare is dragged away, his mother rushes forward. She holds him tight, safe at last. A quiet fire of pride burns in his chest. In this timeline, he finally protected his mother from harm. But the clock is ticking. He reminds himself that his father is locked away for only 15 days, giving him a brief window to prepare for the coming storm. Amidst the earlier chaos, our protagonist managed to secure a crucial prize, a key stolen right from under his father's nose. This key guards a sinister secret, a safe containing the artifact his father used to betray his comrades in cold blood, climbing from the filth of E-rank to C-rank over their corpses. It was a truth buried deep in shadow, one Bayi only discovered after the man's death in his previous life. Under the cover of darkness, he stands before the safe and turns the lock. Inside lies a blade that radiates a terrifying, bloodthirsty aura. As cold steel meets his palm, his destiny solidifies. To transcend his limits, he must descend into the abyss of the demon caves. There is no other choice. These are not mere caverns, but pocket dimensions existing in parallel to our own reality. When these dimensional gates tear open, powerful guilds swarm like vultures to claim dominion over them. Teeming with ferocious beasts and priceless treasures, they are the crucible for power, strictly forbidden to anyone outside the elite guilds. For a student like Bayi, the only legal hunting grounds are the low-level zones managed by the academy. But he possesses knowledge from the future, a hidden demon cave, undiscovered in this timeline for years to come. He moves out instantly, intent on seizing this advantage to leave his peers in the dust. Meanwhile, at the Inspectorate Detention Center, officers brush off the strange atmospheric anomalies as nothing more than a false alarm. Despite the dismissal, protocol demands caution. Inside the cell, Ling sits in restraints, his eyes burning with humiliated fury. He tries to buy his freedom, but his slimy attempts at bribery only earn the disgust of the officers, especially knowing his disgraced history as a guild member. Officer Chen Jinwu slams down the law, warning him that another word could double his charges. He is condemned to the cell for the night, awaiting transfer to the Awakener prison at dawn. But our hero knows the truth. In 15 days, this beast will be unleashed. With the countdown started, strength is the only currency that matters. But the caves are death traps. usually requiring a full squad just to survive. Even the lowest F-rank dungeon typically demands a team of at least 3 E-rank warriors to clear. Entering an E-rank zone solo is suicide, and though he suspects this hidden cave is F-rank, the threat of death hangs heavy in the air. Yet, desperate times call for desperate measures. He steps into the void alone, his will to power harder than diamond. Clutching the stolen blade, Bayi crosses the threshold. Instantly, a world of eternal winter bites into his skin, ice and snow stretching into infinity. He realizes he has trespassed into the domain of a cloud-type magic beast. Treading softly, he spots a colossal ice bear slumbering in the distance. Scattered bones and bleached skeletons litter the ground, grim reminders of those who entered before him and never left. Suddenly, an ambush. A bloodthirsty forest wolf lunges from the shadows, an E-rank predator, far stronger than his current physique. He raises his blade just in time. Steel meets fang with a deafening clash, the impact sending a violent shockwave through his bones. He counters instantly. The wolf falls, sliced apart. This is the terrifying might of an A-rank weapon, bridging the gap between predator and prey. A masterpiece like this is priceless, a treasure his father would have killed to keep hidden from the world. He runs the numbers to advance a single level in his E-rank profession. He needs to slaughter 20 of these beasts. To break through from E-rank to D-rank, he needs 10 such levels. Standing in the frozen waste, Bayi tightens his grip. The grind has only just begun. But blood calls to blood. A pack of wolves emerges from the mist, drawn by the scent of their fallen kin. It is a death sentence for most, but for him it is a perfect, dangerous banquet of experience points. They strike as one, but Yi is a ghost in the snow, dodging and weaving, his blade singing a deadly rhythm as he cuts them down one by one. Loot drops with every kill, granting him wolf fangs. But as the pack thins, the massive Wolf King steps forward to claim his head. Relying on pure agility, Yi becomes a blur. He carves into the beast, landing cut after critical cut, giving the monster no room to breathe. The king falls, a rare snow wolf. Diamond drops, and a golden light surrounds him. He has successfully broken through to D rank. But victory comes at a cost. The adrenaline fades, and a crushing wave of exhaustion brings him to his knees. Just 20 kills and his stamina is depleted. It is a harsh reminder of the pathetic limits of an E-rank body. He decides he needs a dimensional backpack to secure his loot, but more importantly, the brutal reality of solo raiding hits him hard. He knows that to access the high-tier hellscapes, he must eventually infiltrate the elite ranks of the Divine Corpse Guild team. The Awakening schools are mere feeder systems for the guilds, with scouts always watching from the shadows for the next prodigy. Joining a guild is the ultimate dream, but expulsion, that is a social death sentence, ending a career before it begins. That was his father's fate, cast out and stagnating, forever stuck at the mediocre level of C rank. But back in the frozen present, the bitter cold is sapping his remaining energy faster than the beasts. Suddenly, fresh eyes glow in the mist. Another pack, but this time, he has a plan. He sprints, kiting the beasts into the dense forest for a strategic ambush. With a swing of his blade, he clears the forest, deliberately provoking the territory of a ruthless predator, the Cloud Python. Trapped between snarling wolves and hissing vipers, our prodigy finally sets his master plan into motion. A thunderous explosion rips through the silence. His target, the sleeping disaster within the den. The frost bear erupts from the earth in a blind fury. The enraged behemoth rampages, crushing wolves and pythons alike under its massive paws in a chaotic frenzy. Amidst the carnage, he becomes a phantom in the shadows, striking from behind to harvest the lives of the weakened and devouring their experience points. He plays them like fiddles. The beasts possess raw power, but zero intellect. By pitting monster against monster, our genius preserves his own stamina with cold calculation. However, the system is strict. He must land the fatal blow himself to claim the power. Phase 2 begins now. As the horde clusters together, Yi drives his weapon into the frozen earth, shattering the very ground beneath their feet. His tactical eyes saw what they missed. They are standing upon a fragile ice bridge, suspended precariously between two abyss-like cliffs. The bridge collapses in a single, devastating move. The horde is wiped out, though the effort leaves our boy completely drained. Only the monstrous frost bear and a few stragglers survive the fall. Suddenly, the system chimes. A new title descends upon him, 1 against 100. With the title active, power surges through his veins, boosting his stats instantly. Yet, the Frostbearer is the least of his concerns right now. His instincts scream a warning. Every demonic cave has a ruler, a final boss, and he knows its arrival is imminent. For an E-rank dungeon, he calculates the threat level to be comparable to the brutal Lion King of Sector E10. He has turned this dungeon upside down, yet the ruler remains hidden. Why? Suddenly, the answer arrives in the form of a catastrophic ice spell. Before Ye can blink, the frost bomb detonates. He and the beasts are blasted simultaneously. His calculation was a fatal error. The final boss hadn't just awakened, it was watching, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. It waited until they were exhausted, gathered in one spot, and trapped. Now, biting frost spreads up his legs, locking him in place. A chilling realization hits him. The ice bridge wasn't his trap, it was the boss's dinner plate. It gathered the prey to harvest the rewards for itself. This is no mindless beast. The ruler of this cave possesses terrifying intelligence. The shadow steps into the light. The Demon Cave Lord reveals its majestic form, flanked by its elite ape guard battalion. Glacial ice encases Ye's body, sealing his movements completely while the demon monkey looks down on him with a gaze full of cruel mockery. The danger level just skyrocketed. Ye realizes this is a high-risk zone, a nightmare that usually demands a full squad of elite E-rank warriors to survive, frozen solid. The threat of hypothermia brings the shadow of death closer by the second. The Lord raises a hand, commanding its minions to finish the job. Cornered with zero options, our fighter triggers his defensive ace, the parry skill. He waits, breathless, for the split second of impact. Now he activates parry and shatter simultaneously. Boom! The ice prison shatters into dust as he deflects the fatal blow. He is free, but he knows the Reaper is still breathing down his neck. The shatter skill has devoured his stamina reserve. However, Yi calculates that the boss needs time to recharge before casting another ultimate spell of that magnitude. It is a race against time. He must slay the king before its power returns. But the Lord is cunning. It commands the remaining ice bears and wolves to intercept him immediately. It is a hopeless matchup. His nucleo element is suppressed by their cloud affinity. With his energy tank hitting empty, the weight of exhaustion threatens to crush him. He knows the grim truth. If more wolves arrive, his story ends here. Desperation clouds his mind. Suddenly, an ape beast lunges, swinging a massive war club at his skull. A narrow block. The force sends him skidding backward, his knee grinding agonizingly against the unforgiving ice as he fights to stay standing. That impact stole the last of his vigor. He is pushed to the brink, while the bone-chilling cold continues to drain his life force. Seeing its prey weaken, the Demon Lord shows no mercy. It unleashes a second ultimate calamity, an ice storm. He freezes in shock. How the cooldown on an ultimate skill shouldn't be this short. In the face of annihilation, memories of his past life flood his mind. He remembers the countless times he danced on the razor's edge of mortality. Those scars forged a supernatural instinct, a sixth sense for spotting the smallest sliver of hope. Even in this hellish state, his mind clarifies. He has exactly two options. Option 1, stand and fight. But with zero stamina and a broken body, that path leads only to the grave. Option 2, survival. He chooses to run. Without a second of hesitation, our hero flings himself off the cliff's edge. But the Demon Lord is faster. Just as he jumps, a ruthless ice spell intercepts him in midair. Ice encases his feet, destroying his balance. He plummets like a frozen stone, crashing violently into the raging, freezing river below. While our boy fights for his very soul in the dungeon, the door to his room creaks open. His mother steps in, unaware of the life and death battle happening just beneath the surface. Believing her son is sound asleep, she creeps into the room, only to be shocked by the cold, empty bed. On the pillow lies a hastily written note claiming he went to a friend's house, begging her not to worry. But instead of calming her heart, the words send a spike of terror through her veins. He would never vanish without telling her face to face. A mother's intuition screams that something is terribly wrong, especially since he had been acting strange since yesterday. Meanwhile, deep in the dungeon, our hero survives the lethal fall. Jumping off that cliff was a calculated gamble. He recalls shattering the ice bridge moments ago. Nearly 100 beasts plummeted into the abyss, yet the system only rewarded him for 40 kills. That means the rest survived. Our poor boy drags himself from the freezing river, coughing up water as his stamina hits rock bottom. Hypothermia and critical blood loss are setting in. his body is in a completely weakened state. The impact from that height has shattered his defenses. There is no doubt about it, he is at his absolute limit. As he lies broken, he wonders if this is truly the end. Suddenly, a cloud element beast emerges from the mist to finish the job. As the monster closes in, his life flashes before his eyes. He remembers the divine core, his loyal teammates, and his mother's warm care. But dark memories surge too, the face of his wicked father and the stinging pain of a traitor's betrayal. A voice in his head whispers, "This is the end." But our hero roars back within his soul. It is not over yet. With a burst of willpower, he stands. Just as the cloud beast's jaws snap shut, he catches its massive fangs with his bare hands. He is determined. The tragedies of his past life will never be repeated. He already died once and lost everything. This timeline will be different. With newfound fury, he smashes the cloud beast aside, hurling it into the distance. He grips his sword once more. This desperate dance with death triggers a reaction deep within his soul, pushing him toward a class advancement. But he is not safe yet. Our hero stands alone, encircled by a horde of wolves and beasts hungry for blood. He chose this hell. He decided to solo this dungeon to taste the same desperation that fueled him in his past life. He needs that adrenaline rush to force an evolution. Though he flirts with death, the system denies him the class advancement. However, fate grants him a different power. Instead of a class, he awakens a legendary ultimate skill, Nucleo Holy Swordsman. Even without the class change, this skill is broken. Power floods his veins, and with the adrenaline surging, our guy is brimming with explosive energy. He points his blade at the trembling horde. He is going to wipe out every single one of them. As they charge, he unleashes Sanctuary, a swirling, high-speed attack that decapitates every surrounding beast in a single, devastating slash. The loot rain begins. He acquires the Ice Field, Beast Hide, Proud Barebone, and the rare Blood Tooth. The Sanctuary skill is a miracle. It clears his fatigue and restores his lost stamina instantly. He also unlocks the title Icefield Wanderer. His eyes lock onto the top of the cliff. He vows to slaughter the remaining beasts, including the boss. To claim that flood of experience points, golden light surrounds him. He upgrades to level 9 of the E-Class. He immediately activates the Icefield Wanderer effect, making his body completely resistant to the biting cold. The Sanctuary skill reveals its true power. It stores damage taken from enemies and reflects it back in a catastrophic burst, though it requires him to bleed first. Suddenly, reality hits him. He must finish this massacre quickly and rush home before his mother panics. He scales the cliff and charges toward the demon monkey boss's palace. Ice beasts guard the gate, but Yi bursts through like a cannonball. Meanwhile, the clock strikes 11 p.m. Back home, Yi's mother is pacing, consumed by worry. The food sits cold on the table. She clasps her hands in prayer, begging the heavens that her son is safe. Inside the boss's chamber, our boy annihilates the Ice Bear guards, leaving only the Demon Lord's personal elite monkey standing. The Demon Lord scoffs, ordering a minion to attack. The monkey lunges, but our guy blocks and slices it in half with casual ease. Seeing his guard destroyed, the Demon Lord realizes this is no ordinary human roaring in anger. He unleashes his power. Ice Storm Assault. The ultimate skill rains down, but it does nothing. He is immune to the cold. He dashes straight for the throat. Panic sets in. The boss raises his staff, casting a desperation spell that drives the other monkeys into a frenzied hyperstate. But to our hero, they are not threats. They are simply walking experience points he must harvest to reach D-Class. He dances through the mob, his blade singing with a flash of steel. He severs the Demon Lord's arm, and blood sprays from the stump. Before the monster can even scream, it looks up to see our hero staring down with the gaze of the Reaper. A flurry of slashes tears the boss apart. The system chimes. The King of Azure Forest has been defeated. The barrier shatters. He finally advances to D-Class as a nuclear warrior, and the loot drops in a shimmering pile. Because he conquered a cloud element enemy, the system announces a shocking revelation. A new hidden profession is about to awaken. He stands frozen. Having completely overlooked this possibility, a surge of energy confirms it. He has awakened the cloud element mage profession, granting him the power to switch classes at any time. A thrill shoots through our hero. Even at E rank, he has unlocked a legendary red tier profession. Unlike the nuclear class, which grants a mere 100% bonus, The red class bestows a staggering 200% boost. Its raw power already rivals his primary class. As he harvests the spoils of war, the remaining beasts can only watch in terror. But as Yi finishes, he notices a few survivors lingering in the shadows. With a fresh profession pulsing in his veins, he decides these creatures will make the perfect test subjects. He shifts into mage mode, unleashing devastation to wipe them out. By the time the dust settles, it is 5 in the morning. Back home, Sunday dawns, but his mother hasn't slept a wink, waiting anxiously in the living room. The door creaks open. The moment she sees him, she springs to her feet. He walks in with a gentle smile, apologizing for the worry. But words aren't needed. His mother rushes forward, pulling him into a tearful, suffocating embrace. Yi is stunned to realize she starved herself waiting all night. Guilt washes over him, but he quickly pivots. He has good news to share. Earlier, outside the dungeon, he met a shady ore broker who tried to insult him with a measly offer of 800 credits. Our boy countered immediately with 8,000. The broker gaped in shock, but Yi didn't waste breath. He simply snatched his ore back to leave. Panicking, the broker jumped to 2,000, but Ye held his ground, demanding 5,000 flat. After a fierce negotiation, the broker realized this boy could not be bullied and reluctantly agreed to pay 7,000. Possessing the wisdom of his past life, our smart protagonist plays these brokers like a fiddle. With cash in hand, his first priority is securing a new apartment for his mother. In his previous life, she endured endless suffering. This time, he swears to protect her and ensure she lives like a queen. He signs the contract right in front of her. By 8 o'clock that Sunday evening, the deal is done. They settle into their new home. Seeing his mother's genuine smile warms his heart. It has been an eternity since he last witnessed such joy on her face. Yet, even with a luxury apartment and his rapid ascent from E rank to D rank, Yi knows he cannot relax. The threat of his father still looms. Stealing his resolve for school the next day, he locates a crucial item he will need. Meanwhile, Hong pushes his body to the breaking point, storming from one labyrinth to another in a frenzy of training. When his sister begs him to rest, he violently slaps her hand away. He is obsessed with crushing the combat simulation and proving to the world who the true genius is. Hong will stop at absolutely nothing to maintain his supremacy. Elsewhere, a shadowy figure reviews the list of awakened students, scoffing at the lack of talent. The scene shifts to the next morning at 7:30. Yi's mother bustles about preparing breakfast. Suddenly, Yi jolts awake. He's running late. His mother gently chides him. He was sleeping so peacefully she couldn't bear to wake him. She pats his head, urging him to eat slowly. Her warmth calms him instantly. He realizes how long it has been since he enjoyed such deep sleep or a quiet, unhurried breakfast. Just then, his mother asks softly if there is anything special he desires. Our boy's taken aback. She smiles, reminding him that his birthday is approaching next Friday, June 5th. It hits him like a truck. He had completely forgotten. It has been far too long since he had a reason to celebrate. After his mother's death in his previous life, the day lost all meaning, and his birthday faded into the void of his memory. He tries to think of a gift, but his mind draws a blank. Looking at his mother, he realizes he already possesses everything he holds dear. His only remaining desire is blood to slaughter the traitor who destroyed his team in the past. The story then shifts to the academy. When Ye arrives, the atmosphere is electric. The preparations for the combat simulation are underway. The instructor stands before the students with a grave expression. The Divine Guild is overseeing the academy, and their eyes are watching every move. This simulation is their golden ticket to impress the elites. This isn't just a test, it is the final graduation assessment, and it will be broadcast live to the world. Only the top performer will earn a spot in the legendary training camp alongside the high school division. Held only once a year, this camp is the ultimate gateway to the Divine Guild. The school sends its finest warriors to the Shanghai Nation, the very heart of the Divine Guild's power. Yi's eyes narrow. Shanghai. That was where he met his master, and where that accursed traitor was born. The traitor never crossed paths with Master, having joined the Divine Corps much later. Yi knows what he must do: dominate the assessment, enter the camp, and hunt down his prey. The teacher gestures sharply toward the training grounds. Their first hellish session begins physical conditioning in the high-gravity room, starting with 10 grueling sets of shuttle runs. Suddenly, our boy steps out of line. He boldly declares that the recommended training room is beneath him. The teacher scowls, warning him not to get cocky just because he bested Hong. He assumes Ye is trying to slack off. Ye steps forward, his voice steady as he demands a training regimen that actually matches his potential. The instructor pauses, confusion clouding his face, and asks if the boy is arrogant enough to question his teaching methods. Yi calmly explains that while physical conditioning and the gravity room are essential for most awakeners to build a foundation, he argues that repetitive shuttle runs are optimized for agility-based classes like assassins and warriors, but it is a waste of time for everyone else. With cold logic, he states that mages and chanters would gain far more power by honing their mana sensitivity in the element room. He concludes that a one-size-fits-all approach is flawed. Each student should cultivate their strength according to their specific class. The teacher's face flushes with anger, his authority challenged by a mere student who dares to lecture him on how to do his job. Watching from the sidelines, Qian is left speechless, realizing that Yi's proposed curriculum is identical to the classified methods used by the elite Divine Corps unit. She recalls Officer Dong Yang mentioning this revolutionary approach, a secret she only knows because her father brought home a classified videotape. Qian stares at Yi in disbelief, wondering how a common student independently derived a training theory reserved for the military elite. Suddenly, the teacher's anger evaporates. He pats the prodigy on the shoulder with a smile, admitting that the boy's insight is remarkably sharp. However, the instructor sighs, explaining that with such a massive influx of students, catering to individual talents is a logistical nightmare in the short term. He emphasizes that the combat simulation is the ultimate judge, and one wrong move there could shatter a student's future prospects forever. A memory surfaces in Yi's mind, shadows of a troubled past life where this very teacher was the only light in his darkness. Despite his broken family, this mentor had stood by him, helping him grow into a man of responsibility and honor. With a look of profound respect, Yi vows not to disappoint him, prompting the teacher to ask how a nuclear warrior plans to proceed. Yi doesn't hesitate, requesting permission to set the elemental suppression in the element room to its absolute maximum setting. He lies smoothly, claiming he wants to challenge his weaknesses as a warrior, while secretly planning to cultivate his hidden mage class without anyone noticing. Sensing an opportunity, Qian raises her hand, declaring that she too wishes to test her limits with elemental control. The teacher relents, granting them permission to train autonomously, urging them to surpass their limits. As the final assessment looms, Qian approaches Yi, suggesting they form a party and train together. But Yi shuts her down instantly, declaring he needs a private room and leaving her standing there, rejected. Inside the element room, the pressure is crushing. Yi struggles, his mage proficiency still raw, but he is determined to master the arcane arts against the clock. He must be careful, for his greatest trump card, the ability to switch professions, must remain a secret at all costs. Under the watchful eyes of the divine supervision, every move is recorded, and Yi refuses to become a target for the gods this early in the game. Meanwhile, Qian trains with a measly 1% suppression, foolishly believing she is closing the gap between her strength and Yi's overwhelming power. Yi purposefully isolates himself, knowing that getting close to his classmates only paints a target on their backs. After school, Specs and his buddy scramble to catch up to Yi, shouting for him to wait, echoes of best friends from a tragic past life. Back then, they were the weakling trio, bonded by the shared trauma of relentless bullying, the only spark of joy in a miserable middle school existence. But now, Yi walks the path of vengeance, and he believes there is no room for friendship in a heart filled with cold determination. Desperate to sever the ties, he hops onto his bicycle and pedals away, leaving his past behind in the dust. The duo stands stunned, unable to comprehend why their unbreakable trio has fractured, with Specs noting that Yi's aura has completely transformed since his awakening. Yet, moments later, they find Yi waiting for them down the road, his silhouette framed by the setting sun. He looks at Specs and drops a cryptic warning to get his lungs checked immediately, then crushes their spirits again by calling them too slow to walk by his side. Without looking back, he mounts his bike and vanishes into the distance, leaving them bewildered by his erratic behavior. I remembers the tragedy all too well. In the original timeline, Specs was struck down by a sudden lung disease, dying before his time. Our hero decides that even if they become strangers, he will ensure his friend stays alive and healthy from the shadows. While the other friend rages at Yi's arrogance, Specs gazes thoughtfully, sensing that beneath the cold exterior, his friend is still the same person. The scene shifts to the recruit training ground in the Shanghai nation, where whispers of a legendary new recruit are spreading like wildfire. A high-ranking official notes the flattery is well earned, considering the recruit has shattered nearly every record in the book. Mr. Dongyang steps forward to make his formal report, while miles away, Yi returns home and warns his mother never to venture out alone. He promises to handle all the groceries, assuring her he will return early every day to stand guard. Anxiety gnaws at him. He knows this neighborhood is a breeding ground for danger, and he vows to move her to a fortress of safety soon. Deep within the Awakener's prison, the villain Lingang is already weaving his web, striking a shadowy deal with a corrupt chef. The chef pledges to aid his escape, while the next day, Yi begins to decode the essence of magic, realizing that precise calculation is the key to absolute power. The grind for power never stops. As the sun rises on the next day, the relentless training continues without pause. Once the session ends, Specs and his companion try to invite Bayi to dinner, hoping for a moment of normalcy, but the prodigy bluntly refuses, his eyes set on a higher goal. However, before departing, he leaves them with a parting gift. He whispers a secret cultivation technique to the archer, a hidden insight that could change everything. The archer is ecstatic, realizing the value of this forbidden knowledge. Fast forward to Thursday. Specs steps into a clinic, where the doctor looks at him with grave seriousness. The diagnosis hits like a thunderclap. A fast-growing parasitic tumor is devouring his lungs. The doctor warns him that without immediate surgery at a major hospital, his time is up. Specs nods, his face pale, and promises to book the operation, realizing how close he came to death's door. Walking away, a chilling realization freezes his blood. Bayi warned him. Bayi knew. He is left trembling, wondering what kind of divine foresight his friend possesses to see the invisible rot inside him. His spiral of thoughts is shattered when he overhears a group of students whispering about Hong. They speak of him with awe in E-Class, Level 4 Elite. The crowd believes Hong will dominate the upcoming assessment like a king among commoners. It turns out his wealthy clan owns a private labyrinth, and Hong has been power leveling his stats using their private army as a boost. But then, the conversation turns dark. One student drops a bombshell. Hong is planning to teach Bayi a brutal lesson after school for the humiliation he suffered last weekend. The gossip confirms that Hong isn't just angry, he is consumed by rage. He is plotting to actually kill Bayi. Hong has even armed himself with a lethal weapon to ensure the job is done. Hearing this, terror grips Specs' heart. His friend is walking into a death trap. Adrenaline floods his system. Specs decides instantly that he cannot stand by and watch his savior fall. He sprints through the school hallways, his mind racing with nightmares of the dirty tricks and ambushes Hong might employ. Specs fears that Hong has gathered a hit squad to gang up on Bayi, but he skids to a halt, the crushing weight of his own weakness slamming into him. What can he possibly do? The urge to flee is strong, but the memory of Bayi's help burns brighter. Specs storms toward the school armory and smashes the lock, desperation fueling his strength. He trembles, knowing he is breaking ironclad rules, but the debt of life he owes his friend outweighs the consequences. His eyes scan the rack of cold steel before his hands grip the handle of a massive, heavy battle axe. Suddenly, a voice cuts through the tension. Qian stands behind him, demanding to know why he is committing a crime in the armory. Specs tries to stay quiet, but under Qian's intense interrogation, he cracks. He screams that he has to go save Bayi's life before it is too late. Meanwhile, the predator becomes the prey. Bayi, walking home, senses a rat on his tail. He stops in a dark alley, commanding the stalker to show themselves. Hong steps from the shadows, a blade gleaming in his hand and murder in his eyes. He declares that the time has come to settle the blood debt. Our main character turns, looking at Hong with eyes full of utter pity. He calmly asks if Hong truly believes he has the qualifications to defeat him. Hong roars back with arrogance, convinced that today, Bayi will fall. He explodes into motion using the skill Accelerate. He claims his hellish training has paid off, and mid-dash, he activates a second skill to blink behind Bayi for a fatal backstab. But just before the steel connects, our boy vanishes from the kill zone. Seizing the opening, Bayi grabs Hong and slams him into the concrete with the force of a meteor. Hong gasps, coughing up blood in shock. He realizes in horror that Bayi's attack power is in a completely different dimension. His reality shatters. Our guy looks down cold and impassive, telling him that he isn't the only one who has been grinding for power. Bayi draws his dagger and drives it into the ground. Millimeters from Hong's skull, Hong finally understands the terrifying truth: Bayi is an apex predator. Despite being the same age, Hong stares up at a mountain he can never hope to climb. Humiliated and broken, Hong screams, demanding to know Bayi's level. He refuses to accept this reality, asking what kind of monster Bayi has become. Hong confesses that he went through torture and extra training just to reach level 4, pouring his blood and sweat into every stat point. He cannot comprehend how Bayi is still faster. Bayi smiles a demon smile at the mention of hard work and asks a chilling question: "Have you ever died before?" With cold steel kissing his throat, Hong tells Bayi to finish it, kill him, or torture him, but do not mock him. He screams that Bayi has always looked down on him like trash, and our boy admits it without hesitation. That is true. However, Bayi's expression softens slightly. He admits he doesn't hate Hong entirely. He is impressed that Hong had the honor to come alone for a duel, rather than bringing a gang of cowards. He recognizes that beneath the arrogance, Hong simply wanted to test his limits as a warrior. Hong shrieks in frustration. He tells Bayi to kill him now, warning that if he lives, he will come for Bayi's head later. He rejects Bayi's pity. Bayi pauses, the atmosphere shifting. He looks down and says, "Actually, I take back what I said about not hating you." Nearby, Specs and Chien watch from the shadows, their jaws on the floor. They are stunned to see their helpless friend dominating an E-class elite without breaking a sweat. Our boy then leans in, offering the defeated Hong a deal with the devil. He reveals a path to true power, but the price is absolute loyalty. The sun sets, and the next day, Friday, arrives. It is Judgment Day, the assessment day. The instructor stands before the gathered students, his voice booming as he announces the start of the combat simulation. But then, he drops the facade. This is no game. They are entering a real labyrinth, though the monsters are sealed. The threat of death is very, very real. The instructor's voice turned grave as he issued a final warning. They had to know their limits, for the monsters lurking in the shadows showed no mercy. To prevent a massacre, elite high school seniors were assigned as guardians for the squads. These veterans would not fight. They were silent observers, stepping in only if death came knocking. Teams of 4 or 5 would march under the wing of a single senior. The choice of destiny lay before them: the standard F-class dungeon, or the elevated danger of the E-class. But the E-class was a different beast entirely. The teacher warned that only those with absolute faith in their power should dare to tread there. Failure meant more than just bruises. It meant academic ruin. The weight of this assessment was crushing. The briefing ended. It was time for the students to choose their fate. Who had the courage? For E-class hands shot up. 8 brave souls, including Chien and Hong, stepped into the spotlight. Specs watched in disbelief. The sheer audacity to face such danger was absolute madness. The rest were relegated to the lower tier, but Chien's eyes narrowed. Bayi stood completely still, his hand firmly at his side. Suddenly, our hero broke rank. His voice cut through the air. He demanded the Spirit Jade dungeon. D-class. A pin could drop in the silence. The instructor gaped at him, his mind unable to process the sheer lunacy of the request. Recovering his wits, the teacher scoffed. Surely this was a joke. No rookie challenged a D-class dungeon on day 1. The refusal was instant, but then a heavier presence arrived. The dean of the junior high division took the stage. He laid down the hard truth. D-class was a death trap, reserved only for high schoolers who had already ascended to that rank. Bayi remained stone-faced. He cited the rulebook students had the right to select their own difficulty level. He lectured the dean true talent required courage. Wasn't the school hunting for future legends of the Divine Guild? He locked eyes with the old man. Would the dean truly crush a student's potential before it could bloom? Dean Honglang was trapped by the logic. He conceded, but threw up one final barrier. Teamwork was mandatory. Bayi's reply was instant and cold. He would go alone. The dean's face reddened with anger. Solo entry was a violation of the highest order. Student safety was non-negotiable. The air was thick with tension until a hand shot up. Chien stepped forward. She, too, would face the D-class nightmare. Her eyes burned with an unshakable resolve. Dean Honglang panicked. Had she lost her mind? How could he explain her injury or worse to her powerful father? Xian stood her ground like a fortress. She demanded the highest score. She needed to find her breaking point. She turned to Bayi with a confident smile, offering an alliance, but Bayi shattered her pride. He refused. He worked alone. The sting of rejection barely had time to register before the instructor intervened. He overruled Bayi instantly. They were a team, like it or not, but a new problem arose. Who would supervise the suicide mission? No sane senior would volunteer for a D-class disaster. Hope seemed lost. Then, from the back of the senior crowd, a single hand rose. A young man stepped into the light, a charming, almost predatory smile on his face. He would take the burden. The teacher exhaled, the tension draining away. With him, they were safe. Cheon whispered to Bayi, awestruck. That was Zeling. He was a legend who nearly made the cut for the prestigious Ultimate School squad. Zeling approached with a smirk, expecting praise, but Bayi just stared blankly. He looked the senior in the eye and said, I don't even know who you are. Zeling chuckled, but his eyes were cold. To him, Bayi was just an arrogant peacock, strutting towards his own destruction. The teams were set. The instructor turned to the assembly. Assignments were locked. The combat simulation was officially live. Professional drones hovered like silent hawks. Every strike, every mistake, would be live-streamed to the world. Show us your strength, the teacher roared. It was a race for the top score. While others trembled, our hero stared into the abyss, his eyes burning with determination. The academy stood upon the corpse of a massive demon cave. Its lingering energy spawned countless smaller portals across the campus. Ranging from F to D class, these pockets of hell served as the ultimate training grounds for the students. The students vanished into the swirling vortices. The test had begun. Inside the gloom, Bayi, Cheon, and their watcher Zeling moved forward, the drone buzzing silently behind them. Bayi glanced at the camera. He knew the world was watching, and he was ready to put on a show. He knows he must keep his true power in check, hiding his trump cards from the prying eyes of the unknown. With the gaze of the gods upon him, his choice is calculated. This dungeon holds the spirit jade, an item he desperately requires. The team materializes in a gloom-filled forest, teetering on the precipice of a deadly cliff. Zeling steps forward with unearned confidence, positioning himself between Bayi and Cheon, vowing to be their shield. He puffs out his chest, bragging about his past glory in unsealed D-class dungeons alongside high-ranking awakeners. As they venture into the abyss, Cheon asks about the danger level. Zeling explains the monsters range from level E5 to D5. However, he notes that since this is a school simulation, the true terrors are sealed, meaning no boss will spawn to threaten them. A smirk plays on his lips as he warns them not to get complacent. Even high-tier E-class beasts possess devastating speed and power. He makes sure to remind them of their place, emphasizing that as fresh students, they are still pitifully weak. Turning his charm on Cheon, he promises to find easy prey for her to farm, swearing on his pride that he won't let a scratch touch her. But his lecture falls on deaf ears. He suddenly realizes that Bayi has already drifted far into the distance. Zeling freezes, confused by this insolence, and shouts a warning to not rush ahead lest he trigger a monster trap. Our protagonist halts and glances back, his voice cutting through the air like ice, telling the senior he's being far too noisy. With absolute authority, he tells the older student to stay behind. His assistance is neither wanted nor needed. Zeling and Cheon are left stunned in silence as Bayi marches onward, claiming the vanguard position. Meanwhile, back at the academy, giant screens flicker to life, broadcasting the students' desperate struggles in real time. In a VIP observation room, the campus vice captain watches intently, speaking into a communicator. He urges his captain to tune in immediately, claiming that this year's simulation has taken a fascinating turn. A playful smirk touches his lips as he reveals that a mere junior has dared to challenge the hellish D-class dungeon. A woman's voice echoes back, asking for the student's class. The vice captain chuckles, saying that is the best part. The student is a nuclear warrior, a profession widely mocked as one of the weakest in existence. Intrigued by such arrogant courting of death, the mysterious captain agrees to watch, curious to see the source of his audacity. Elsewhere, chaos reigns. In a sealed F-class dungeon, a student named Specs screams in sheer terror as monsters close in. His supervising senior scolds him, demanding he calm down and simply buff the team from the backline. But fear has paralyzed him. Specs wails that even these bottom-tier F-class monsters are the stuff of nightmares. The situation is even more dire in the sealed E-class dungeon, where the air crackles with danger. Teams are besieged by packs of fierce fangs, wolf beasts charged with elemental lightning. Hong's team is decimated, with members scattered on the ground. Seeing his comrades fallen, Hong's eyes blaze with determination. He decides to shoulder the burden alone. Fueled by a burning rivalry, he charges the beast head-on, screaming that he will never let himself lose to Bayi. Back in the D-class darkness, our hero has just finished his work. He stands serene amidst a sea of beastly carnage. From the rear, Xiling and Qian stare wide-eyed, their minds unable to process the slaughter before them. Qian stammers, asking how he could possibly annihilate so many enemies single-handedly. Unfazed, our guy brushes it off, explaining that these sealed monsters only wield half their true strength, making them trivial opponents. Qian isn't convinced. She argues that even weakened, fighting an army alone is a feat she cannot even fathom reaching. Turning his gaze to the darkness ahead, our guy tells her that comparing herself to others is a waste of spirit. His expression is calm but intense as he advises her to focus solely on her own path to power. Struck by his wisdom, Qian's face lights up with a dazzling smile, clutching her grimoire as she vows to do her absolute best. Xiling, however, watches from the shadows, consumed by jealousy that this arrogant junior is stealing his glory. He tries to regain face, stepping in to remind Bayi that a D-class dungeon is no playground and arrogance will be his downfall. The senior begrudgingly admits the kill count was impressive for a rookie, but warns that with 3 perilous caverns ahead, luck will not save him forever. He attempts to take command, but Bayi cuts him off cold, ordering Qian to the right while he takes the left, leaving Xiling completely ignored. The team stands in a massive cavern, the floor slick with the blood of defeated monsters, facing a fork in the road where the darkness splits into 2 daunting tunnels. As Bayi bypasses the senior to address the girl, Xiling's rage boils over. Our hero simply asks Qian if she has the resolve to handle the right path alone. Forced to the sidelines, Xiling watches in silence, but his eyes burn with humiliation at the junior's blatant disrespect. Bayi explains calmly that this simulation exists to test their individual limits, and Qian must prove her strength on her own terms. She nods with fierce determination, declaring that she understands the stakes and is ready to face the challenge head-on. The strategy is set. Bayi turns and strides into the darkness of the left path alone, while Qian and Xiling venture toward the right. The senior's face contorts with malice. He mutters a dark curse, vowing that if the brat refuses to learn the easy way, he will teach him a lesson through suffering. Meanwhile, inside the viewing room, a stunned silence falls over the faculty as they watch Bayi's live feed. One student gasps, unable to believe the sheer number of beasts falling before him. A confused instructor demands to know his current rank, only to learn his file still reads E1, but anyone with eyes can see his true power far exceeds that level. Whispers fill the room as they speculate he must have reached at least E3, or perhaps even the formidable realm of E4. The supervising teacher narrows his eyes, explaining to his colleagues that Bayi's decision to send Qian into the right tunnel was no accident. The boy had carefully analyzed the elemental compatibility, deliberately sending the flower element user, Qian, to confront the stellar element monsters, granting her an overwhelming natural advantage. He praises the young hero's razor-sharp judgment and terrifying tactical awareness, maintaining perfect clarity even under such crushing pressure. Remembering Bayi's vow never to disappoint him, the teacher smiles with deep pride, realizing the boy's confidence was never empty arrogance. He leans forward, eyes glued to the screen, eager to witness what other miracles his student is about to unveil. Deep in the dungeon, our genius protagonist had already deduced that the stellar-type beasts were spawning exclusively from the right-hand cavern. Recognizing they are lower-level foes that Qian naturally counters, he orchestrated this specifically as the perfect trial for her growth. Following her designated path, Qian suddenly freezes as a massive, armored beetle blocks her way. The beast charges with earth-shaking force, reacting on instinct. She slams her palm against the stone floor and screams, "Vine wall, massive." Thorn-covered vines erupt from the earth like striking serpents, coiling tightly around the monster and halting its advance. The spell holds, but Qian's face contorts with intense strain. Summoning every ounce of her will, she screams, calling forth another surge of magical power. With a sharp gesture, she commands the living vines to constrict without mercy. The thorns bite deep, crushing the beetle's carapace and drawing dark blood as the deadly paralytic poison floods the creature's system. Moments later, the behemoth collapses, lifeless. Her face glows with triumph as she realizes she has overcome the impossible once again. Watching from the shadows of his own tunnel, Bayi observes closely. He notes that even at E-Class, a mage already possesses their terrifying foundational skills. In Chi-Yin's case, it is the ability to manifest a poisonous barrier, the Vine Wall. She maintained her composure against a superior foe, and she displayed exceptional tactical awareness, utilizing her defense not just to block, but to entrap the enemy and seal its movements. The verdict is clear. The girl possesses a frightening natural talent. Satisfied that Chi-Yin can hold her ground, Bayi shifts his gaze to the massive, glowing red seal pulsating at the end of his cavern. Elemental flames dance around the barrier. He deduces that sealed D-class monsters lie waiting within. Now that Chi-Yin is safe, he is free to unleash his power on this far more dangerous objective. As he steps toward the seal, the gears in his mind turn, calculating the perfect strategy. He is confident he can secure a legendary score while keeping his true power hidden, even under the watchful eyes of the surveillance drones. Meanwhile, lurking at the entrance of Chi-Yin's path, Zailing boils with indignation. He cannot stomach the arrogance of these juniors who dare to ignore his authority. The twisted senior decides it is time to punish them for their overconfidence. Like a phantom, he appears behind Chi-Yin. He draws his golden bow, but his aim is not on a monster, it is locked on the ground directly in front of her. With a twisted grin, he decides to spice things up and releases a blinding arrow of pure light. The projectile strikes with the force of a meteor, narrowly missing Chi-Yin, but blasting open a massive crater in the earth. She whirls around, eyes wide with shock and confusion at the sudden betrayal. The senior feigns innocence, casually asking why she dodged while claiming he was merely trying to grant her a buff. Suddenly, a nightmare erupts from the pit. A ferocious two-headed lion bursts forth, charging at her with the speed of a demon. Sensing the disturbance, Bayi turns to see the flaming beast roaring in fury, its jaws mere inches from tearing Chi-Yin apart. Despair washes over her. She knows there is no escape. Meanwhile, Zailing watches with a scoff of cruel satisfaction. In a flash, Bayi activates scale swiftness. His speed explodes by 50% as he intercepts the charge, smashing his fist into the lion before its claws can reach her. As the monster staggers back from the impact, Bayi narrows his eyes, surprised by the creature's unnatural speed. Zailing smirks in the shadows, thinking to himself that he knows the secrets of this labyrinth far too well. Even though the lesser beasts have been sealed away, a nightmare remains. This twin-headed lion refuses to stay dead, respawning endlessly within the cave's depths. For these greenhorn recruits, it is a death sentence. Their feeble defenses are useless against the calamity of D-rank status, and Zailing has played a cruel hand. He amplified the beast's attributes. Now, it boasts impenetrable skin and godlike speed, evolving into the ultimate predator. The beast's eyes glow crimson. It enters a frenzied berserk mode, thirsting for blood, forcing our hero to hesitate. Should he unleash his true power? No. He screams for Susan to retreat, knowing this monster is far beyond her limits. For a split second, even Bayi feels the cold grip of death. The twin-headed monstrosity launches itself into a lethal pounce, but she does not run. Summoning her courage, she casts her skill. A massive wall of vines erupts from the earth, ensnaring the beast mid-air. Layer upon layer, the thorns bind the lion, bringing its charge to a grinding halt. She screams out to him. She is not a burden, but an ally. D-rank or not, she refuses to cower. She is determined to stand by his side and slay this nightmare. Zailing watches in disbelief. Has she lost her mind? That beast nearly swallowed her whole, yet she stands her ground. Bayi is equally stunned. Most would be paralyzed by terror, but her recovery speed is inhuman. She shook off the fear in an instant. She didn't train until her bones ached just to freeze now. She declares that the chaos of battle will never break her spirit. Her eyes lock onto his, burning with trust. She knows, with absolute certainty, that as long as Bayi is there, death cannot touch her. Bayi snaps back to reality. She burned through 3 layers of mana in a single breath. He warns her sternly. Her elemental reserves are critical. She cannot afford to be reckless. A nod of understanding. She heeds his command without hesitation. In his past life, Chi-Yan was a radiant star, a prodigy whose only dream was to ascend to the Divine Guild and become a legendary officer. She was the picture of grace, confident, generous, and backed by a prestigious lineage that commanded respect. Yet, despite her elite status, arrogance never stained her heart. She treated every soul with genuine kindness. Her unyielding sense of responsibility naturally led her to become the class president, a leader everyone admired. But time had separated them, and he assumed she found a peaceful, ordinary life. He was wrong. Right now, in this hell, she is the one warrior Bayi can trust with his back. With her aid, the path to victory opens. He can crush this trial without exposing his monstrous true power to the world. High above, Zelling sneers. Does this pathetic duo truly believe they can triumph? He knows the truth. That vine barrier is fragile. It will shatter in mere seconds. He scoffs at their bravery. In the face of absolute power, confidence is nothing but a comforting lie. A D-rank beast with amplified stats is a calamity. No rookie, no matter how spirited, can survive its wrath. He waits for the inevitable despair. Soon, their hope will break, and they will crawl on their knees, begging Zelling for salvation. That is the lesson he intends to carve into their souls. They will learn to respect their superiors through pain. Crash. The vine wall explodes. The twin-headed nightmare tears through the defenses, its claws reaching for their throats. Bayi shoves Chiyan behind him. He barks out the plan. The beast is a nucleotype. He will draw its aggro, and she must strike at the perfect moment. The beast lunges. In perfect sync, they scatter, diving in opposite directions just as the massive paws crush the ground where they stood. The lion ignores the girl. Its rage is focused solely on Bayi, the one who dared to wound it earlier. With the target locked, the D-rank predator charges. Bayi sprints toward the lake and dives headfirst into the churning waters. The beast foolishly follows him into the depths. Bayi activates swiftness, gliding through the liquid, and shouts the command, Chiyan, now bind him. Vines explode from the murky depths. The lion is ensnared instantly. It roars, thrashing violently against the crushing grip. But Chiyan shows no mercy. She tightens the noose, choking the life out of it. The berserk mode flickers and dies as the vine's toxins flood the beast's veins. Bayi watches with a cold smirk. It is over. The predator has become the prey. The trap is sprung. Now, they claim their victory and the highest score this academy has ever seen. Zelling's jaw hits the floor. Impossible. A single layer of vines neutralized his enhanced super beast. This defies all logic. Rage boils in his veins. He forgot the fundamental law of elements. A nucleotype loses its power when submerged. Worse yet, the flora element thrives in water. The environment itself turned into Chiyan's weapon. It was a tactical masterclass. Using basic elemental counters and flawless teamwork, they dismantled a monster far above their league. Bayi's split-second reactions and commanding leadership have stunned the onlookers. The crowd watches in awe, convinced that the top rank belongs to him. Now, only the execution remains. There is no doubt left in anyone's mind. When the guild reviews this footage, Bayi will shatter every record in history. Suddenly, the livestream goes pitch black at the most critical moment. It is Zelling who cuts the feed, knowing well that without video proof, our protagonist cannot claim the highest score. Meanwhile, our hero and Chiyan share a breath of relief. Their synergy was flawless, allowing them to escape a desperate situation with their lives. However, our hero refuses to take the glory. He gives all credit to Chiyan, praising her exceptional mastery over elemental resistance. Her control is so refined that she manipulated a single ability in multiple ways, completely locking down the monster. Chiyan blinks in surprise at the praise, but just as they prepare to leave, Zelling storms onto the scene. He screams at them to drop the formalities, his patience clearly at an end. Our hero steps forward, his eyes cold. He confronts the senior, accusing Zelling of malicious intent. He knows Zelling was fully aware of the deadly consequences of unleashing a D-rank monster on students entering the labyrinth for the very first time. Zelling spins around, doubling down on his excuse. He claims he only wanted to buff the girl, and arrogantly insists it is her fault for not dodging. Our hero scoffs, throwing a vicious verbal jab. He mocks Zelling, saying his skills as an archer must be trash if that was the best aim he could manage. Chiyan joins the offensive. She laughs, noting that there is clearly a reason why this loser failed to make it into the elite school squad. These brutal facts pierce Zelling's pride. Enraged and humiliated, he spins back around, preparing to attack our guy. But the moment he senses the protagonist's terrifying aura, his confidence shatters, terrified. He backs down, swearing he will take his revenge later. As the senior retreats in shame, the duo realizes the truth. This senior possesses a truly petty and fragile personality. While our boy crouches on the ground, Chiyan watches him with curiosity. He inspects the camera, confirming that the senior destroyed it. Their high score has been lost to the darkness. But a plan forms in his mind. He realizes the senior must leave to get an entrance permit to return. The other groups are miles away. This grants him the most valuable resource of all, time. A smirk plays on our boy's lips. The senior's attempt at sabotage has ironically done him a massive favor. Now, he is free to do what must be done. Sensing the shift in his demeanor, Qian trembles slightly, asking what he intends to do. Moments later, a massive crimson portal manifests. Our boy stands before the swirling energy. He demands she promise one thing: to never speak of what happens next. Yet, he knows the truth. Even if she told the world, nobody would believe the impossible feat he is about to perform. His words only deepen her anxiety. What is he plotting? His mind flashes back to a deal he made, remembering that the seal-breaking stone lies with his uncle. Our guy reveals his insane plan. He intends to take the Spirit Jade Labyrinth for himself and completely unseal it. The declaration strikes her like a thunderbolt. She screams at him in panic. She begs him to stop. The labyrinth holds hordes of D-class beasts. If the seal breaks, high-level monsters will flood out and cause a catastrophe. He ignores her pleas, his voice calm. He assures her that the monster's power is suppressed by the seal. Panic still grips her heart. She knows that the two of them cannot possibly handle an army of D-class monsters, but he looks her in the eye and corrects her. It won't be the two of them. He will face this nightmare alone. Suddenly, the air begins to tremble violently. A terrifying amount of aura explodes from his body. Qian freezes in disbelief as the truth hits her. He is also a high-ranking mage. Our guy commands her to guard the exit. At that moment, the seal shatters, and D-rank monsters begin to pour out. Seeing the beast lunging toward him, fear grips her heart, and she screams for him to watch out. In a split second, he switches to the Cloud Elemental Mage class. He activates his skill. Flash freeze, Qian is paralyzed with shock as she witnesses him using a red quality profession. She remembers her own struggles. It was difficult for her to control even a single lion beast. Yet, our boy dominates the battlefield. He controls 3 beasts simultaneously, freezing them instantly in blocks of ice, but his mind is sharp. He calculates the enemy's movements. These monsters have been caged for so long that they will rush the opening the moment they see it. He tells her he needs more space. She complies instantly. Suddenly, a pack of D-rank monster leopards burst forth, leaping straight for the hero's throat. He remains calm. He knows their strength has been cut in half by the long imprisonment. Despite their high rank, he unleashes his mage skill again. Flash freeze. Ice manifests from thin air, instantly turning his enemies into frozen statues. Crowd control is merely the first step. Suddenly, Bayi senses a lethal spike of energy behind him. He whips around to see a fire saber-toothed D-class monster closing the distance. Without hesitation, he instantly switches classes to the nuclear warrior. The beast attempts a sneak attack, but he is ready for war. Just as quickly, he switches back to the Cloud Elemental Mage and freezes this monster in its tracks. Qian's jaw hits the floor. She never imagined he could switch professions in the blink of an eye. Watching him move, the puzzle pieces fall into place. She finally understands why he visited the element room. It was all to train his elemental resistance for this very moment. She knows the fundamental laws of magic. A mage typically uses natural forces or manipulates objects of their own element. Until now, she believed that magical output was strictly tied to one's overall strength. But witnessing his power, her entire understanding of the world is shattered. Elemental energy is the breath of nature itself, untamed, primitive, and violently chaotic. Yet, as Qian observes him, a revelation strikes her. True mastery isn't just about wielding one's own strength, but dominating the enemy's force. She realizes that absolute control over the elements is the only path to unlocking infinite combat variations. It is the art of transforming a single, fundamental strike into a limitless arsenal of destruction. Watching him dismantle the beast with such surgical precision, the truth becomes undeniable. Bayi has already ascended to that realm. He doesn't just fight, he embodies absolute mastery. Qian stands frozen, the gap between them painfully clear. They were left in the dust long ago, yet her eyes sparkle with admiration. He is simply magnificent. Suddenly, the earth trembles. The Spirit Jade Labyrinth Lord descends the colossal hell mammoth. However, the seal has suppressed its power by half. Bayi doesn't flinch. He stands ready, as if he has been waiting for this very moment. Seeing its minions frozen in defeat, the Lord unleashes a roar that shakes the very foundations of the dungeon. The beast lunges, Bayi instantly shifts, forms nuclear warrior mode, engaged. He intercepts the charge with a devastating critical strike. As the dust settles, Bayi scoffs, with the seal dampening its might. This lord is weaker than a mere level 10 monkey. Even with a crushed skull, the mammoth refuses to fall, rage fueling its movements. It charges at Bayi for one last desperate clash. Bayi launches into the air. He rains down a torrent of critical hits, a blur of motion too fast for the naked eye to follow. The beast is crumbling. Bayi switches to sanctuary mode, activating his legendary title 1 against 100. Steel flashes. The mammoth's massive tusks are severed instantly, drawing a wretched howl of agony from the monster. It joins its fallen kin in the abyss. The labyrinth lord has been slain. The system chimes with victory. He obtains fierce bones points and a high-grade treasure, the King's Fang, pulsating with ominous light. As he absorbs its essence, he unlocks the resonant Kingstones. A rare smile crosses his face. This is the power he has yearned for. His strength skyrockets. Cloud Element Mage ascends to level 11, and Nuclear Warrior surges to level 13. He confirms his status. His mage class has officially breached the D-class rank. The evolution continues. His title evolves from 1 against 100 to the terrifying one-man army. Alone against the world, his power will now know no bounds. Chi-On is left speechless by this display. Bayi approaches her, his voice calm. Do you remember the lesson I taught you? Through his guidance, she too has evolved. Flora Element Mage, level 7. She has officially reached E-class. Meanwhile, outside the dungeon, the monitoring screens go wild. A massive energy surge sends the staff into a panic. If the seal breaks, it means total catastrophe. They scramble toward the entrance, terrified that leaving the students unguarded was a fatal mistake. Suddenly, the senior walks in, confusing everyone. Wasn't he supposed to be inside protecting the rookies? But there's no time for questions. The teachers sprint past him, desperate to prevent the looming disaster. The senior freezes. The seal. Broken fear grips him for a second, but a dark smirk follows. Has Bayi finally met his end? Karma, he thinks, is sweet. Bursting into the chamber, the teachers scream into the darkness. Bayi, Chi-On. But to their shock, the duo stands there, completely unharmed. Bayi calmly asks why they are panicking. The teacher checks the seal. It is perfectly intact. Dumbfounded, they conclude it must have been another machine error. Impossible power cannot be measured by ordinary tools. Days later, on May 29th, the senior corners the vice captain, confident that his submitted materials have secured him the final team spot. The vice captain offers a playful wink and a crushing apology. Sorry, my friend, the captain has already made his choice. The senior's world shatters. Who could possibly have stolen his glory? That spot was reserved for the elite, the most valuable asset. Who dares claim they are better than him? He demands to know if his skills were lacking. The answer cuts deep. We found the diamond in the rough. The chosen one is Bayi. That evening, under the city lights, Inspector Chen Jin-woo sits across from a disheveled man, warning him sternly to stay out of trouble after his early release. The man slurps his noodles aggressively, grunting a careless affirmation. He clearly has no respect for the law. Chen drops the news. Captain Hong arrives next Friday. The tension is interrupted by a ringing phone. Chen scowls, annoyed by the persistent caller. He snaps that he's returning to the unit and orders the man to go straight home. As Chen walks away, the man mocks his words with a sneer, spitting on the ground. A sinister shadow falls over his face. He has no intention of obeying. This man is Bing Sheng Bai's estranged father, and he spells nothing but trouble. Instead of going home, he storms to Bai's residence. Finding the house empty, he roars in anger. A predator denied his prey. Rage boils over. He shatters the stool into splinters, furious that they dared to hide the truth from him. His fist crashes against the glass. He swears that Bayi will regret this day. Composing himself, he hands a piece of the resonant jade to his mother. He implores her to keep it close at all times, showing her the matching half hanging around his own neck like a talisman. If danger ever strikes, she need only crush the stone. His jade will resonate, and he will tear through space to stand by her side instantly. Without the safeguard, his heart cannot rest easy, leaving her unguarded. Memories surface. He realizes she has never owned a single piece of jewelry, denying her the simple joy she deserves. She gently touches his arm, urging him not to worry about her for the weekend. She insists he enjoy his youth and spend time with friends. He offers a reassuring smile, claiming he has no need for such things. Her concern deepens. How can a young man survive without bonds? She knows everyone needs people to cherish. His thoughts drift to those he once held dear in a forgotten time. But in this timeline, reuniting with them might be an impossible dream. The clock strikes midnight. With his mother's safety secured, he steps into the darkness of the wild D-class labyrinth. A sense of relief washes over him. This hidden dungeon is a rare phenomenon. It opens only for the witching hour, closing promptly at 1 a.m. Every second counts. He descends into the depths. His sole focus is absolute evolution. In his past life, he stood at the apex of power. Now, he faces a D-class wild orchid and a blood-devouring flower. The shadows trigger a nightmare. He remembers watching helplessly as his comrades were slaughtered before his eyes. He banishes the memory with a lethal strike. One slash obliterates the flower, yielding the blood petal item. His mother's words echo in his mind. Friends. He scoffs at the notion. Friends are just liabilities waiting to die when the gods decide to act on a whim. He channels his resolve into violence. A critical blow smashes into the second beast's skull, forging his path to power. The wild orchid falls, yet he is not satisfied. He must be faster, sharp as a razor's edge. He becomes a whirlwind of destruction within the labyrinth. He must surpass everyone. A killer's intent darkens his face. He knows his current strength is nothing compared to the monster he must eventually face. To defeat the genius Golden Archer, a prodigy since childhood, he needs a miracle. There are no shortcuts on the path to supremacy. He will crush every enemy to become faster, stronger, and better. He unleashes his skill, sanctuary, his blade dances, reaping the lives of corpse orchids and devouring flowers alike. System notifications flood his vision. His aura explodes outward, radiating wild power. Only 20 minutes remain before the gates seal. He must hunt down the Lord, and he must do it now. 12:39 a.m. He confronts the dungeon lord. The creature claims this territory as its own, confusing our young hero. But before he can react, flash step, the lord vanishes from the tree and appears instantly behind him. Identify target Yao Ming, a level 20 D-class lord. Yao Ming strikes. Our hero counters, his blade severing the beast's arm cleanly, but horror strikes the limb, regenerates in seconds due to a passive skill. Our hero steps back, shaken. Such terrifying regeneration capabilities are unheard of for this rank. Yao Ming roars and slams his massive fist into the earth. The ground trembles. The corpses of the slain monsters twitch and rise, leaping toward him with renewed hunger. Impossible. Since when does a D-class lord possess the power of mass resurrection? Suddenly agony blooms in his chest. Something pierces him from behind. He turns, gasping. It wasn't resurrection. It was a trap. Yao Ming's twin brother, Ti-Wu Ming, emerges from the shadows with a bloody blade. Two lords against one. He's completely surrounded. And then the clock strikes 1 a.m. The labyrinth entrance seals shut. The rain begins to pour. Cut to 6 p.m. the next day. His mother paces anxiously. She has sent countless messages. Silence is the only reply. His phone is dead. Fear grips her heart. She knows he has returned to the danger. Unable to wait, she rushes out into the storm to find him. But a predator lurks in the heavy rain. Bing Shun, stumbling and drunk, shadows her movements. Venom fills his eyes. He is enraged that they dared to move to a new home without his permission, thinking they could escape him. He glares up at the luxurious apartment building. The glass bottle slips from his hand, shattering on the wet pavement. The instant his mother steps out of the building, her eyes lock with Bing Shung's, and she realizes her fate is sealed. Meanwhile, our prodigy fights through exhaustion as the fifth wave of monsters rises from the dead, mocking his efforts. They stand back up as if death were merely a suggestion, launching a fresh assault, but his blade sings through the air to cut them down again. However, he knows this is a futile cycle. Slaughtering these self-resurrecting beasts offers neither experience points nor loot drops, and he must locate the hidden core fueling this endless regeneration. He deduces that the twin lords are the key, as these lesser monsters possess a healing factor far too potent to be natural. It is a gift bestowed by their masters, so he dashes toward one of the lords, unleashing a flurry of critical strikes. Yet, it is meaningless. The creature's health bar refills in the blink of an eye, shrugging off the damage instantly. Even severing their heads proves useless as flesh knits back together, and despair begins to creep in as the enemy heals every wound. He realizes that even an S-rank saint or a high-level healer would be unable to match this recovery speed, forcing him to question if there is an external battery supplying this massive healing aura. To make matters worse, as the Lord counterattacks, our hero notices the beast is evolving, learning his combat patterns in real time. Meanwhile, even the monster cannot help but acknowledge the terrifying strength of this human. Suddenly, our boy's perception catches the flow of energy leading to the labyrinth's heart. It is a flora element labyrinth, and a colossal ancient tree stands as the true source of this infinite vitality. Without hesitation, Bayi explodes forward, knowing the lords are invincible only because this tree supplies their mana. The lord realizes our hero's intent and screams in panic, desperate to protect its lifeline. But the protagonist knows the roots must be severed to end this nightmare. As he strikes the timber, the two lords rush him in a frenzy. But our guy anticipates the ambush, flash freezing them in place before instantly switching his class to the destructive nuclear warrior. He swings his blade in a devastating arc, and his theory proves correct. With the tree destroyed, the first lord falls, unable to cheat death any longer. The kill grants him a bounty of loot, including the rare spirit grass, a treasure for healing alchemy. Bayi turns his killing intent toward the second lord, leveling his blade for the final execution. The creature suddenly changes its demeanor, bowing down and begging the protagonist to end its existence. This surrender surprises him, making him wonder if the beast lost its will to live after its twin brother was destroyed. Regardless, he decides to grant its wish for a reunion in the afterlife. As a reward for clearing the boss, he obtains a poison thorn, a key material for crafting the poison piercer. The system alerts him that his nuclear warrior class has reached level 15, and his cloud element mage has risen to level 13. Furthermore, his base stats receive a massive boost, and with the bosses slain, the dungeon entrance unseals itself. The system chimes again, notifying him that his affinity with the flora element has maxed out, triggering a new class awakening. Bayi is shocked to see the element reach its peak potential, and he waits with bated breath to see what new power the heavens will grant him. Suddenly, a verdant floral aura envelops his body, and the notification confirms his successful awakening. Previously, he had unlocked a rare red-colored class, so his expectations for this new power are sky-high. But reality hits him hard. It is a blue-colored class, revealing he has become a lowly E-rank flora element summoner. He consoles himself with the fact that the summoner class has low mana requirements, and he curiously checks his new skill tree. The system displays two abilities, a floral spirit contract, and a passive skill known as flower bed. He taps on the contract skill, and a brilliant strategy forms in his mind regarding the two powerful lords he just vanquished. Bayi approaches their lingering spirits and activates the contract, commanding the souls to rise and serve him, and they submit to his will. Meanwhile, as Bailing stands outside our hero's home, his phone rings, shattering the silence and annoying him with the late-night disturbance. He answers to find Officer Chen on the line, who commands him to secure a spot at Chef Hong's prestigious banquet. Bingxing vows to prepare a worthy gift, assuring his superior that he will seize this opportunity to claw his way back into the guild. He ends the call, deciding to put politics aside and catch up with his sister after a long day. Back at the residence, our hero's mother stands patiently in the pouring rain, waiting for her son's return. He spots her silhouette and gently ushers her inside. Bayi's mom gazes at the bracelet on her wrist, touched that he bought a Mother's Day gift without a word spoken. Though she cannot speak, her heart understands everything about the son she raised. Later, our hero rests in his room, analyzing his three paths: the Green Warrior, the Blue Summoner, and the Red Mage. His two combat classes have already hit D rank, but he stares at his status screen, knowing the Blue Summoner is still only at E rank. Even with two distinct classes at Dank, our protagonist feels the gap in his power. It is simply not enough. His enemy was thrown behind bars on the 21st, and days have already drifted by in silence. 5 days remain until the release, but Bayi knows better than to trust the system. His opponent will likely bribe his way to freedom, so our hero prepares his artifacts for war. By the next morning, Bayi stands at the gate, realizing that avoiding the issue is futile. He must crush this threat before the training pilgrimage begins. Our hero descends into the abyss, sweeping through D-class hidden labyrinths until the sun begins to set on Sunday. Refusing to waste a single breath, he pushes his body to the limit, determined to ascend to C-class rank in record time. He dives into yet another dungeon, slaughtering monsters until nightfall. After a relentless marathon of conquest, the system finally acknowledges his strength. A golden notification flashes before his eyes. He has unlocked the legendary title Lone Wolf Hero. By conquering 10 labyrinths of his own level completely solo, our hero has obtained the rare hero's key. The system reveals a new path to power. Once specific conditions are met, the gates to the warrior's tower will open for him. The following morning, the atmosphere at the Academy of the Awakened Junior High crackles with tension as the teacher prepares to announce the assessment results. She reveals the rankings with pride. Bayi and Chien have claimed the first and second thrones in the entire school. Bayi's combat data was sent to headquarters for scrutiny, and the verdict is in: he has achieved the highest score in the Academy's history. Consequently, Bayi and Chien have earned their tickets to the training pilgrimage. But thanks to our hero's godlike performance, they are granted an audience with the Divine Clan. The entire class erupts in shock. Meeting the Divine Clan is an honor so high that even divine officers can only dream of it. A smirk plays on our hero's lips. This direct line to the clan is exactly the opportunity he has been waiting for. His classmates cling to him, begging him to remember the little people when he ascends to greatness, while others gaze on with envy and pride. Meanwhile, in the shadows of the dean's office, the dean questions Hong Chong. Is he truly refusing to ride his father's coattails? His father had returned after a chaotic ordeal, and Hong Chong could easily use the excuse of visiting headquarters to sneak into the training pilgrimage. But the student stands like a statue, his resolve unshaken. He only achieved 3rd place, and his pride will not allow him to cheat. He refuses to be a parasite. He will not have the world whisper that he relies on his father's legacy for every step he takes. The dean looks at him with newfound respect, wishing that Hong Chang's father could witness this immense character growth. Instead of a handout, the student demands a challenge. He asks for access to the sealed D-class labyrinth on the back mountain to forge his own strength. Elsewhere, arrogance reigns supreme. The senior student believes his bloodline as the sole heir of the Z family entitles him to everything. But Academy Principal Zun King is furious. He demands to know why his nephew acted so recklessly during the combat test. The principal's voice thunders. He questions why his nephew would buff a monster just to backstab the junior students. He slams his fist on the table, the impact echoing through the room. Did he truly think the authorities were blind to his dirty tricks? If not for the Z family name protecting him, this foolish nephew would have been expelled and disgraced instantly. Witnessing the principal's wrath, the senior collapses to his knees, trembling and begging for mercy. Principal Z orders him to stand. Because of this fiasco, the higher-ups have turned their gaze toward Bayi, sensing an anomaly. The principal reveals a dangerous truth. The authorities believe something is unnatural about our hero. His growth rate defies logic, which is exactly why an envoy from the Divine Clan intends to inspect him personally. The senior is granted permission to attend the pilgrimage, but on one condition: he must hide his fangs and act humble, or no one can save him. A twisted excitement fills him. He can hardly wait to get to the pilgrimage and sink his claws into Bayi and Heli. Back in the classroom, a classmate stares wide-eyed at an invitation letter stamped with the seal of the elite school squad. His eyes nearly pop out of his skull. The strongest squad in the academy is personally inviting our hero to join their ranks. Joining the elite school squad is a golden ticket. It means our hero could bypass the exams and enter the Divine Guild directly. This squad was founded by the Academy's only golden assassin in recent years. It is the pinnacle that everyone is desperate to reach. The elite school squad belongs to the high school division, making this invitation to a junior high student utterly unprecedented. While the class loses their minds over the honor, our hero casually snatches the invite and tosses it into the trash bin like garbage. The room goes silent. Everyone is paralyzed with shock that Bayi would reject the elites, but he simply turns to leave without a backward glance. A classmate laments the wasted opportunity, but his friend corrects him. They all know the truth: our hero was born to lead, not to follow. Our hero heads to the school's back mountain, the only place where he can dominate the D-class labyrinth in peace. He attempts to warn his friend that the D-class dungeon might be a death sentence for him, but the friend insists on joining the fray. Our protagonist promised a lesson in practical combat, and he intends to deliver a masterclass in violence. Bayi struck a deal to accelerate his growth, but it came with a heavy price. He demanded access to the Academy's restricted labyrinths. However, he didn't just unlock a single door, he gained entry to every D-class dungeon in the facility. While our prodigy slaughters monsters with casual elegance, his partner is being absolutely decimated. Bayi offers to step in, but his friend's pride is on the line. He insists on facing the beast alone. The system is rigid. Bayi hasn't met the criteria to unseal the Tower of Heroes. The requirement is a paradox. He must reach B-class strength while his official rank remains stuck at D-class. He has already purged every wild labyrinth in the region. The Academy's dungeons are the only fuel left for his ascent. But a cruel reality sets in the higher his power climbs, the more essence he needs to bridge the gap to the next level. The moment he hit the D-class threshold, his progression slowed to a torturous crawl. Still, he grinds day after day in the darkness. A monster lunges at Hong Chong from the shadows. Bayi deflects the fatal blow, but Hong Chong snaps at him, furious at the interference. Foolish pride. If our hero hadn't intervened, Hong Chong would have been reduced to paste. Fortunately, the dungeon provides just enough experience for a breakthrough. By Thursday, the grueling effort pays off. Hong Chong finally ascends to D-class, his spirit soaring. He strides out of the dungeon, beaming with satisfaction. For the first time, he conquered the depths himself, without his usual entourage of bodyguards. Meanwhile, our hero shatters his own limits, leveling up to C-class and awakening a devastating new skill. With these stats, he knows he's invincible against his current rivals. Bayi returns home under the cover of night. His mother corners him with the question, has he been secretly dating a girl for the past 2 days? When he denies it, her worry shifts. She fears he's out causing trouble with delinquents since he's always returning so late. Bayi reassures her, but his mother smiles gently. She tells him it's natural to have someone special and urges him to be brave enough to chase the one he cares about. Her words strike a nerve. Bayi freezes, his mind instantly flooding with the memory of the only girl who ever mattered. He is thrown into a vortex of flashbacks, memories of Healy teasing him, begging for his warmth, while he constantly pushed her away with cold indifference. He remembers the aftermath of a catastrophic battle, seeing her broken body on the ground, pleading for him to carry her. Even then, he was paralyzed by shyness, only helping her walk after the healer had done their work. In his past life, their paths crossed only after his master saved him from death row. Destiny had brought them together in the majestic capital of the Shanghai nation. He has no idea where she is in this timeline. A wave of melancholy crashes over him. The chances of finding her again in this life feel impossibly slim. He carries the burden of memories from a future that no longer exists. Even if he found Healy now, they would be strangers. The bond they shared has vanished into the ether. Elsewhere, Healy receives a report from her vice captain Bayi is still ignoring their faction's invitation. His constant silence only fuels her obsession. She decides to take matters into her own hands and deliver the invite personally. Fast forward to his birthday, Bayi receives a gift from his mother. He opens the box to find a card wishing him eternal happiness and success. But the gift inside stops him cold. A thick wool scarf. Summer's approaching. Then, the realization hits him like lightning. He asks, "You knew I was leaving for the Shanghai nation, didn't you?" His mother doesn't deny it. She warns him about the desert climate, scorching sun by day, bone-chilling cold by night. She smiles bravely, assuring him she will be fine on her own. Bayi is stunned. She had seen through his plans all along. She presses some money into his hand, insisting he treat his friends to a celebration feast. Bayi sighs, reminding her that he walks a solitary path. He has no friends. Cut to the academy. Bayi stares in confusion at a strange statue. Hong Chong is vibrating with excitement, presenting the limited edition model as a gift, but suddenly, another classmate interrupts, claiming his tribute is far superior. He slams the mysterious box onto the desk, an item that is nearly impossible to acquire in this era. Bayi's jaw drops. It's a vintage tape of his absolute favorite film, The Prestige. Nostalgia hits hard. In his past life, he and this friend would hide in abandoned sheds to watch banned prehistoric movies just like this. His friend winks. "Hide this from the teachers." Bayi is genuinely touched. But before he can say more, the atmosphere shifts. Qian walks in while wishing him a happy birthday. The entire class gasps in shock. She places an item on the desk that radiates power, an A-rank mage weapon, the Phantasm Gem. It's a treasure worth a fortune. Bayi immediately tries to refuse. The gift is simply too valuable to accept. But Chien stands firm. She insists that without him, she would have perished during the training pilgrimage to her wealthy family. This gem is a trinket, but for him, it is essential. Our protagonist is left completely speechless. He can't argue with her logic. He desperately needs his power to replace his starter gear. He wonders if she noticed him struggling with low-level weapons after his class change. A lump forms in his throat. He realizes that despite his cold exterior, his classmates remembered his birthday and prepared these thoughtful tributes. The boys start whispering, stunned by how close Bayi and Chien have become, until Chien silences them with a sharp look. Bayi had planned to leave this academy as a ghost, severing all ties to protect his heart. But looking at them now, he wavers. "Tonight," he announces, "dinner's on me." The class erupts in cheers, but their joy is about to be cut short. News arrives. Enforcers from the high school division have entered their territory. Confusion ripples through the students as they wonder why the crowd is surging toward their classroom, until a whisper cuts through the noise. It is the captain of the elite squad. Most have never seen her face, but legends of her peerless beauty and terrifying power precede her, alongside rumors that she has come personally to recruit Bayi. Our hero lets out a weary sigh, deciding to crush these rumors and refuse the invitation face to face. He steps into the corridor, not with arrogance, but with the heavy, suffocating pressure of a predator revealing itself. The entire school watches with bated breath, seniors gritting their teeth in jealousy as the elite squad's spotlight falls solely on him. Suddenly, the lights overhead begin to flicker violently, and the air grows heavy with the buzz of high-voltage electricity. A crackling wave of lightning surges through the hallway, tearing toward our hero like a blue dragon, yet he stands immovable as a mountain. The energy screams toward him, but Bayi remains calm. He knows this is merely a feint, and his sharp eyes catch the true assassin striking from the blind spot on the left. In a blur of motion, he spins, summoning his dagger to parry the invisible strike with a resounding clash of steel. The spectators are baffled by the sudden violence, but as the lightning coalesces into human form, Helly reveals herself, smirking with pride at his reflexes, while our hero stands frozen. Bayi stares, his composure cracking as he realizes who stands before him. It is Helly. Memories of a past timeline flood his mind, visions of her asking for a hug, her voice echoing with a warmth he thought was lost forever. He remembers the pain of leaving her with Huo for healing in their previous life. Helly smiles, teasing that she had to come personally since he ignored her summons. The crowd whispers furiously, terrified that rejecting this ice-cold captain would be social suicide for our protagonist. Helly opens her mouth to introduce herself formally, but Bayi moves on instinct, pulling her into a tight embrace as the onlookers gasp in absolute horror. His friends turn to stone, convinced that their stoic leader is secretly involved in a forbidden romance with the school's most powerful senior. But this is no age gap scandal. Helly is a prodigy who awakened early, skipping grades to dominate the high school division while still being their age. Before the gossip can spread, Helly unleashes a flash of lightning, teleporting them both away from the prying eyes of the mob. In the quiet aftermath, she looks up at him, asking if that passionate hug means he has finally accepted her offer. She lays out the path to power. The elite squad has unlimited funding, top-tier resources, and methods to level up far faster than grinding low-level dungeons. However, the protagonist shakes his head, his eyes burning with a different ambition as he turns her down. He reveals that his time here is short, but he makes a vow he will establish his own legendary guild, one that will rival the heavens. And when that day comes, he promises her, they will stand side by side on the battlefield once more. The moment is interrupted as the vice president rushes in, breathless, urging Healy to gather the squad for a mandatory greeting of Captain Hong. Healy sighs, telling our hero they will settle the score at the training pilgrimage, promising to catch up on all the time they have lost. As the Lightning Queen departs, the school explodes into chaos, unable to believe Bayi just rejected the elite squad to pitch his own imaginary guild. They scoff at his audacity, dismissing his words as the arrogant boasting of a delusional teenager. Starting a guild requires an ocean of wealth and power, something a mere student could never possess. Yet, while they acknowledge his record-breaking scores in the junior assessment, the image of him hugging the untouchable Helly without consequence haunts them. Alone with his thoughts, our hero smiles, realizing fate has played a magnificent trick on him. In his past life, the members of the Divine Guild kept their histories sealed, mere ghosts to one another. He never knew that he and Healy had walked these same halls together. Without this regression, he might have missed this destiny entirely. To Bayi, this reunion is not just a coincidence, it is the greatest birthday gift the universe could offer. Later, at dinner, his friends bicker over the menu, but the truth comes out Bayi craved barbecue, and his loyal followers simply made it happen. Cyan leans in, his expression serious, asking if Bayi truly intends to abandon the school to forge his own path. Our hero sets down his drink and drops the bombshell after the training pilgrimage. He is leaving for the Shanghai nation. The table goes silent, shocked that he would aim for the pinnacle of military education, the legendary Divine Soldier Academy. Meanwhile, at the luxurious Kaiban Hotel, the atmosphere is tense as Chief Hong storms into the lobby. His assistant freezes, eyes wide, spotting Bingshun, a criminal who should be rotting in a cell for 15 days. Chen Jinwoo explains with a nervous sweat that money rules this city, Bingshun paid double bail, and the corruption runs deep in the vice captain's office. Chief Hong's aura flares with rage, demanding to know why a disgraced exile is allowed near his private gathering. The assistant stammers that it was a favor for a desperate man who liquidated his entire fortune just to beg for a second chance. Bingshun approaches, trembling, offering a bag filled with high-grade magic crystals as a pathetic tribute. Chief Hong slaps the bag away, scattering the precious gems across the floor, his voice booming like thunder as he questions the security. As Bingshun scrambles to collect his scattered dignity, he realizes that buying his way back into power might cost him more than just gold. The guild chief seizes him by the collar, demanding to know what delusion led him to believe money could buy prestige within these walls. He commands the intruder to gather his filth and vanish. Chief Hong casts his former employee into the dirt like a stray dog, blacklisting him from the guild forever. Lingxing boils with venomous rage at his old boss, spitting curses at the closed doors that scorned him. Consumed by the humiliation of being trampled upon, he smashes the surrounding crystals with his bare fists, shattering them into dust. He stalks through the streets, damning the chief to hell, his mind twisting until he resolves to slaughter anyone who dares oppose him. Fate leads Ling Shang to the protagonist's doorstep, just as Bai's mother steps out to discard the trash, unaware of the predator lurking nearby. Meanwhile, at Old Wang's barbecue, unaware of the looming shadow, a group of students strolls past our hero. His companions spot the Divine Guild insignia and tease him, noting that entrance to the Divine Miracle Academy could make him their equal or even their superior. One friend laments that a birthday celebration has morphed into a farewell feast, but Chi vows to train relentlessly, determined to stand beside our hero at the academy one day. Yet, amidst the laughter and smooth sailing, a cold chill runs down Bai's spine. His instincts scream that something is terribly wrong. His friends dismiss the worry, urging everyone to savor the moment. Glasses clink in a joyous toast, wishing our hero a happy birthday, oblivious to the storm gathering elsewhere. Back at the house, Bai's mother clutches her son's necklace tightly as the shadow of death looms over her. Ling Shang, consumed by an inferno of jealousy, sneers at her comfortable life. He threatens to drag her back to her true hell, his killing intent spiking. The glimmer of a bracelet on her wrist catches his eye. He questions the source of such luxury. A twisted laugh escaping his lips as a dark realization hits him. In his vile mind, he assumes she sold her dignity and charm to afford such treasures. He swings a devastating punch to crush her, but suddenly, the bracelet erupts with light. A mysterious force intercepts Ling Shang's lethal strike. Bai's D-class shadow beasts, the Wooming brothers, materialize to shield his mother, swearing to protect her with their lives. She stands stunned, realizing this is her son's power at work. Memories flood her mind of the day Bai gifted her the artifact, commanding her to wear it as a guardian in his absence. Sai Wooming lunges at Ling Shang, but the villain dodges blows are exchanged in a flurry of motion, forcing the attacker onto the back foot. A manic grin stretches across Ling Shang's face. He finally has a punching bag to unleash his pent-up fury upon. Meanwhile, Bayi can no longer ignore his bloodlust. He abruptly stands, telling his friends he has urgent business, and vanishes into the night with a promise to return. He immediately dials Chang, demanding the intelligence report he requested earlier. Chang reveals the grim news Ling Shang was released early from prison and went directly to crash Chief Hong's banquet. However, after being thrown out of the Kaiban Hotel, his signal vanished. Bai's heart stops. The hotel is dangerously close to his home. He frantically calls his mother, but the video feed fails to connect. He tries to rationalize it, hoping she simply left her phone behind. But the terrifying truth settles in. If that monster Ling Shang has found his mother, she is already in mortal peril. Bayi slams the phone shut, revs his bike, and tears through the streets, racing against the Reaper to save the only family he has left. The protagonist pushes his speed to the limit, desperate to bridge the distance. Although the Wooming brothers stand guard, Bayi knows their level is too low to withstand a monster like Ling Shang. Back at the scene, the villain stands triumphant, crushing Chi Wooming beneath his boot. Ya Wooming shouts for his charge to retreat while he acts as a human shield. Ling Shang pivots to the next target, but the fallen beast desperately clings to his leg. Ling Shang seizes the creature by the throat, his knife flashing as he mercilessly butchers the summon. He then turns his cold, dead eyes toward his wife. The beast screams for her to run and never look back, as he makes a suicidal charge at the enemy. The terrified mother flees in the opposite direction. He attempts to bind Ling Shang in vines, but the villain shatters the restraints with brute force and slams him into the earth. Bai's mother sprints for her life, but Ling Shang flickers in front of her, cutting off her escape. She freezes, trapped like a rabbit before a wolf. He snatches the protective pendant from her neck and crushes it, shattering her last hope. Tears of absolute despair well up in her eyes. As the knife descends to end her life, she recalls Bai's vow, break the pendant, and I will be there. The moment the artifact shatters into dust, the air explodes with pressure. Bayi crashes onto the scene, catching the lethal blade with his bare hand. He stands as an immovable wall between the monster and his mother, declaring that the nightmare ends now. Suddenly, the past overlays the present. Bayi sees his younger self, bound in chains, screaming for his father to spare his mother, only to be ignored. In that dark memory, Ling Shang continues to strike his wife with a heavy stick, a tyrant in his own home. He rages that he slaves away while his family rots at home. His son's pleas fall on deaf ears. It was the first weekend of Bai's high school life, a day meant for joy. His mother had taken him to the amusement park, but they lost track of time and returned late, unaware of the doom awaiting them. That day, Ling Shang had failed to find work. Consumed by failure, he decided to unleash his frustration on his own blood. The darkness within him snapped the leash of humanity, and he beat his wife until she moved no more. Witnessing this atrocity shattered Bai's mind, triggering a miraculous second-class advancement. His aura shifted from common green to the legendary platinum, awakening the Nucleoli swordsman class. In the previous timeline, he shattered his chains only to lose control, slaughtering his own father in a blind rage. But tragedy had already struck. His mother was gone. Now, reborn with a second chance, he swears this history will never repeat. He stands like a guardian before her with a single, devastating elbow strike. He shatters his father's blade into dust. Ling Shang sneers, wondering who dares oppose him. But seeing his own kin, a sick delight twists his face. He can crush both wife and son together. He charges with killing intent, but Bayi weaves through the strike, flicking him away like an insect. Ling stumbles back, staring at his shattered kunai in disbelief. Get her out of here, Bayi commands the Wood Spirit brothers, entrusting his mother's safety to their care. Ling freezes, realizing the terrifying truth: those two Flora element beasts obey his son's command. The pieces click into place. His son is a legendary prodigy, wielding both the destructive nuclear warrior class and the Flora element. A twisted laugh escapes in pride that his bloodline produced a dual awakener. But fury quickly takes over. This ungrateful brat stole from his safe and tried to cage him. Rage boils in his veins. Ling steps forward, intent on teaching this rebellious child a painful lesson. You dare disobey me! Ling Shang lunges like a mad dog behind them. His mother cries out in terror for her son's life. But Bayi shifts gears. He activates the Cloud Element Mage class instantaneously. Frost coats the asphalt, trapping Ling Shang in a prison of ice. As the father stands paralyzed, Bayi stares him down cold. My potential, he declares, is something a wretch like you could never comprehend. In the eyes of the prodigy, the man standing before him is nothing but trash. Ling is blinded by arrogance. He believes his C-class combat experience is enough to crush a newly awakened fledgling. Roaring, he shatters the ice to assert his dominance, but Bayi is faster, driving a dagger straight into his opponent's chest without hesitation. Ling's eyes bulge. He cannot believe his defenses were penetrated so effortlessly. Bayi rips the blade out and shoves him back. You mean nothing to me. Ling gasps for air, then lunges again, screaming, You heartless, Ungrateful monster. Wham! A thunderous kick sends the abusive father flying. Bayi descends like a demon. He unleashes a barrage of strikes, pounding the truth into his father. He is completely outmatched. He grips Ling's face in his palm. "You are not a man," he hisses. "Just useless garbage." Boom! He slams his skull into the concrete. Bloodied and broken, Ling plays the victim. "I raised you," he wheezes. "Is this how you treat your own family?" Bayi's eyes glow crimson with hatred. "Family," he spits. "Did you think of family when you beat us black and blue?" Dark memories flood his mind. The phantom pain of his father twisting his ear. The sound of his own childhood begging. But please never worked. Ling never stopped. Not even when flesh tore and blood ran. "You treated mother like an animal," Bayi roars. Now the tables have turned, and Lingxiang grovels at his son's feet for mercy. But the hero sees through the lies. This performance is all too familiar. In the past, whenever Ling was overpowered, he cried crocodile tears, but the moment Bayi showed mercy, the monster returned. A sudden surge of adrenaline floods Bayi's system. His father stares up in pure horror. Ling realizes his doom is imminent. Meanwhile, the system chimes. Bayi's aura explodes outward as his sanctuary evolves to a new tier. Killing intent saturates the air. He raises his hand to end it, but his mother screams for him to stop. But Bayi is lost in the bloodlust. He knows words won't change a sinner. The only solution is to cripple the beast so it can never bite again. Then, with cold precision, the boy strikes. He severs the tendons in his father's limbs. Lingxiang howls in agonizing pain. "Spare me! I'm your father!" he wails. Bayi glares down. "Since I am your blood, you should expect my cruelty to match yours." He activates Flash Freeze, encasing the broken man in ice. He draws his weapon, remembering clearly in the last life. This man was his executioner. There is no pity in his heart. Bayi is ready to stain his hands to rewrite history. Suddenly a voice cuts through the haze of rage. It sounds familiar. He realizes his mother is using the Yumuing's ability to project her thoughts directly into his mind. Clutching her chest, she begs, "Don't become a monster like him. He has already lost everything that mattered." She reasons that living a pathetic, broken life, consumed by guilt and failure, is a far harsher punishment than death. As he hesitates, her voice trembles. "I beg you, my son, do not turn into another Lingxiang." She refuses to let his bright destiny rot in a prison cell for the sake of revenge. The image flashes before him, a life in chains, cut off from the world, darkness swallowing his future. He lowers his weapon. He will spare the wretch's life, but he vows Lingxiang will never cast a shadow over their family again. Mana flares violently around his blade as he invokes a forbidden art from his past life. Carving a burning cross into the air, he unleashes Judgment Square. This execution skill can only be activated when an enemy is at death's door. It is a ruthless technique that instantly obliterates the mana core of any target at the same or lower level, stripping them of magic forever. The strike lands true on his father. Bingshun screams as his cultivation evaporates instantly. Bayi levels his sword at the broken man, his voice cold as ice. From this second forward, Bingshun is nothing more than a cripple in the world of the awakened. Bayi turns his back on the disgrace, ordering him to vanish from the city within 24 hours. He signals Ya Wuming to memorize the man's scent. The young prodigy delivers a final ultimatum. If Bing ever dares to step near his mother again, death will be a mercy. Even if he rots in an awakened prison, drowning in his own blood, the father has no choice but to accept his defeat. Back in the safety of the apartment, Bayi's mother rests on the sofa while T tends to her trembling form. Panic grips Bayi as he rushes to heal her, but C and Ya confirm that the monster didn't manage to lay a single finger on her. The hero lets out a breath he didn't know he was holding. If he had arrived a second later, the outcome would have been catastrophic. His mother smiles gently, assuring him she is fine. But Bayi shakes his head. His mind racing, he needs to forge a new protective jade pendant immediately. Suddenly, the world seems to freeze. He realizes the sound he just heard didn't come from her mind. Shock paralyzes them both. The voice came from her lips. Bayi stares, overwhelmed with disbelief and joy. Tears well up in her eyes. The silence that imprisoned her has finally been broken. She gives him a playful wink, revealing that the shock merely unblocked a damaged nerve. The trauma, ironically, has healed her. Much later, perched high on a tree branch, T and Ya plead with their master. They beg Bayi not to leave the sanctuary of his home and friends, but the hero's resolve is made of steel. He has already paid the rent in advance and plans to buy the property outright soon. He reveals his preparations are complete, including a newly crafted jade pendant. This artifact is linked to his soul. If his mother faces danger again, he will sense it across the continent. Tears fill the spirit's eyes as he entrusts his mother's safety to them. He has told his mother a partial truth that he is merely going on a training pilgrimage to sharpen his skills. But she remains oblivious to the dark reality. The son standing before her is not the innocent boy she remembers. He is a reincarnated soul, crushed under the weight of a vengeance that spans lifetimes. With a ticket to the Shanghai nation in hand, the stage is finally set for his retribution. He will reach the capital far faster than in his previous life, but victory is not guaranteed. This could very well be a one-way trip to hell. Yet, retreat is not in his vocabulary. At the train station, his mother notices the time and realizes the hour of prayer has arrived. She explains that on the first full moon of midsummer, the High Mage of the Flora Temple descends to bless the faithful. Bayi watches her, realizing that her devotion to the goddess Flora is the only thing that kept her sane all these years, because she never asked. He never had the heart to tell her that his departure is scheduled for tomorrow. As she closes her eyes to pray, he makes a heart-wrenching choice. He slips away into the crowd, for he cannot bear the pain of a final goodbye. Meanwhile, at the hospital, the doctor delivers the verdict to Linlu's anxious parents. The surgery was a complete success. The doctor praises their quick action, which saved the boy from permanent damage. His parents weep with relief, showering the doctor with gratitude, while his mother fusses over him, treating him like fragile glass. Linlu grinds his teeth in annoyance, reminding them that the doctor called it a minor procedure, but his mother silences him instantly. He is strictly confined to bed rest, no arguments allowed. He fumes silently, looking as energetic as ever, hardly like a patient who just underwent surgery. Frustration burns in his chest. Bayi and the others leave for the Shanghai nation tomorrow, and he is trapped here, unable to even see his brothers off. He clings to the hope that their paths will cross again soon. The next morning, the train platform is chaotic with emotional farewells. Mothers sob openly, clinging to their children as if sending them to war. The young students blush with embarrassment. Qian's mother smothers her cheeks in kisses, making the poor girl want to disappear. Her father steps in as the savior, gently pulling the weeping woman away and reminding her that their daughter isn't leaving forever. As families embrace, our protagonist stands alone in the sea of people, a solitary figure against the crowd. A woman nearby notices his isolation and asks why his parents haven't come to send him off. He ignores the prying question, his eyes fixed on the tracks. The woman persists, asking if he has always been this independent. A shadow crosses Bayi's face. He chooses to lie to protect his heart. "I have always been alone," he mutters coldly. "I have no family left to miss me." First, the shadows of death claimed his friend through the agony of lung cancer, a battle that could not be won. And soon after, his master vanished into the void, leaving him without guidance. Fate was not finished. It tore his cherished teammates away from him as well. He had become a master of solitude, his entire existence reduced to a never-ending series of painful farewells. He simply drifted through the abyss of existence. Despite losing his entire world, he forged a heart of steel to survive the suffocating silence. Suddenly, a sharp voice cuts through the air. The train is thundering toward the station. The conductor commands every student to brace themselves for immediate boarding. Just as Bayi prepares to cross the threshold onto the train, a desperate cry rings out behind him, freezing him in place. The sound strikes his very soul. He spins around to witness a miracle. His mother stands there, and beside her, Haiming pushes a wheelchair carrying Linlu. This defies all logic. Linlu's parents had locked him away, yet his bond with his friend shattered those chains, allowing them to smuggle him out for one last goodbye. Linlu beams with radiant energy, but worry clouds Bayi's gaze. He knows the surgery took a heavy toll, and his friend should be strictly bedridden. But Linlu swears on his life that his spirit has never been stronger, hiding his pain behind a brave mask. Driven by pure brotherhood, Linlu begs Bayi to prioritize his own survival above all else once he reaches the dangerous territory. Haiming steps forward, offering a bundle of clothes and food, a rushed but heartfelt tribute, as time had allowed for no other choice. Bayi attempts to refuse, citing the birthday treasures he already received, not wanting to be a burden. But their resolve is ironclad. They force the care package into his hands while Chien stands silently nearby, a gentle, knowing smile gracing her lips. Then, the matriarch approaches. Bayi's mother presses a mysterious bracelet into his palm, a relic sourced from the Holy Flora Temple known for its potent spiritual effects. Her voice trembles as she reveals its purpose. She is bestowing this artifact upon him to serve as a divine shield against the unknown. The realization crashes over Bayi like a tidal wave. His mother had journeyed to the sacred temple specifically to plead with the heavens for his destiny. It begs the question, had she foreseen this dangerous path long before today and planned this protection in secret? His introspection is shattered. The conductor screams the final warning, the pilgrimage train waits for no one, and the trials are about to commence. Bayi turns to board, struck by the weight of his own transformation over a single, turbulent month. As he waves goodbye to his blood and bond, he realizes the winds of change have swept through all their lives, altering their paths forever. He makes a silent vow he will crush this mission and return with Godspeed, for his true home and his people are waiting right here. However, high above the chaos, a shadowy figure observes from a rooftop, eyes locked on the scene. He confirms the target has safely boarded and is bound for the Shangi Nation, moving exactly as predicted. The artifact, the Flora bracelet, is active on Bayi's wrist. This observer is none other than Liu Zhongjiang, a level 5 synthesis master of the temple. He speaks into a communicator, inquiring if there are any final commands for the pawn he has just placed. The voice on the line is cold. Everything now rests on the prodigy's shoulders. As the train cuts through the land, Bayi calculates that the elite squad and the captain are already moves ahead. They had departed early to clear the complex sea crossing procedures, leaving the main group behind. Soon, they will breach the boundary of the Jiang Nation, standing at the precipice of the mysterious Shangi territory. Teacher Huang's voice booms with excitement. The training pilgrimage has officially commenced. She warns that breaching the Shangi border requires a grueling 24-hour customs process. Following ancient tradition, they will make camp at the boundary tonight. But this is no rest. It is the stage for their inaugural field training exercise, a true trial by fire. Yet, Bayi remains blissfully ignorant of the viper in the grass. A senior student sits directly behind him, eyes burning with malicious intent as the announcement chimes that their destination is imminent. Teacher Huang shifts the tone, lecturing them on the lore of the Genesis gods who forged this reality. Since ancient times, their divine protection has shielded humanity. Thus, the bloodlines of these gods possess supreme, unquestionable power. She reveals a critical truth. The Shangi Nation hosts 2 of these celestial families. She issues a grave warning to respect the divine laws upon entry. She demands absolute obedience. Chaos will not be tolerated in the land of deities. The cross from Jiang to Shangi requires navigating 3 distinct fortified checkpoints, and they have already cleared the first hurdle. To proceed, they must present the Holy Pilgrimage Invitation, the only key that unlocks the gates to the next train. Security at the second checkpoint is draconian. Every soul is scanned, and every detail is registered with 0 margin for error. The process is agonizingly slow, consuming an entire day to process the sheer volume of students. Only when the sun rises on the second day will they truly step into the foreign land for their first pilgrimage stop. June 27th. They finally arrive at the combat zone, the air thick with tension. The landscape is a barren wasteland on the coastal edge of the Jiang Nation. Bayi stands tall beside Qiyin, who can't help but praise his sharp appearance in the new battle gear. Suddenly, 2 stunning female students lock onto Bayi. They instantly recognize the legend, the prodigy who dared to reject the elite school squad. Calling him adorable, they swarm him, giggling over his record-breaking combat scores from junior high. They launch a flirtatious assault, hoping to catch his eye. But Bayi remains an immovable mountain, politely shutting them down with cold indifference. Despite his cold demeanor, the female students still find him irresistibly cute, but Bayi's mind is elsewhere, calculating the inefficiency of the weak beast roaming the barren zone. These fodder monsters are useless for his growth. He has hit the C-class bottleneck, where leveling up requires far more than simple grinding. Jealousy rears its ugly head as Jiang Jun approaches the girls, desperate to undermine our protagonist's reputation with snide remarks. He scoffs, "Don't be fooled by school assessments." Fighting sealed beasts in a controlled environment is child's play compared to the horrors of the real world. His confident words easily sway the impressionable students, reinforcing his status as the school's so-called heartthrob. Elsewhere, The instructor addresses the group, reminding them that their presence here proves they are the chosen few, the absolute elite of the academy. Elite of. Her expression turns serious as she lays down the ironclad rules for this combat expedition. Stay within the safe zone and never wander alone, she commands. Furthermore, absolute regrouping is mandatory at the campsite by 8 p.m. sharp. Before she can finish her lecture, the students shout in unison, their voices full of youthful confidence and obedience. But in the shadows, a senior student watches with a sinister smirk, harboring dark intentions. Across the border in the Shanghai nation, a powerful captain returns to a hero's welcome. He learns that the leader of the Shannan team awaits him. The legendary Great Hunt is about to begin. They speak in hushed tones about the exclusive rights granting the elite school squad dominance over this territory. With a sharp command, the captain dispatches a silver-haired subordinate to join the vanguard and await his arrival. Back in the barren zone, Jang Jun effortlessly slays a minor beast. He basks in the girl's adoration, claiming such a feat is beneath his true potential. Bayi ignores the noise, focusing on the holographic interface only he can see. His system confirms that all 3 of his character classes have finally reached C-class, yet satisfaction eludes him. A frown mars his face as he realizes his growth has completely stagnated. To break through, he must challenge foes that equal or surpass his power. Tragically, the local labyrinths of the Jiang Nation only offer pathetic D-class trash. The creatures here in the Barren Zone are nothing but empty calories for his cultivation. Slaughtering them yields 0 benefit. Suddenly, chaos erupts. A massive arachnid emerges from the brush. Despite it being a mere D-class threat, Jang Jun freezes in terror and screams for salvation. Calm amidst the panic, Bayi draws his weapon. His aura shifts instantly from bored student to seasoned warrior. The spider lunges at him with killing intent, but in a flash of steel, Bayi cleaves the beast in 2 with a single, precise strike. He glances at the dropped item with disdain. It is useless clutter, reminding him that the Divine Guild monopolizes all high-level resources. He tosses the loot aside like garbage, leaving the female student stunned by his casual display of overwhelming strength. This encounter reinforces a harsh truth. The gap between C-class and B-class is not a step, but a chasm as wide as the distance between heaven and earth. Searching his memories, he recalls rumors of high-grade magic crystals hidden near the border of the Shanghai nation within this very zone. Driven by the need for power, he slips away to investigate, hoping to secure materials that can finally push him past his limits. Under the cover of night, deep in the jungle, he discovers a cluster of magic crystals, but something is wrong. These rare energy sources should only exist in monster-infested labyrinths. He crouches to inspect the find, his eyes narrowing as he senses the anomaly. The mana within them is gone. They are dull and gray, as if their essence was violently drained just moments ago. It is not just the crystals. The surrounding vegetation is withered and gray, stripped of its very life force. A chill runs down his spine. What kind of creature possesses the gluttony to devour ambient energy so rapidly? A mere D-class beast shouldn't be capable of such devastation. Following the trail of destruction, he reaches a clearing where a majestic waterfall crashes into a pool below. His gaze locks onto a shattered container on the ground. The residue inside is fresh. Someone, or something, has used its contents recently. Back at the campsite, the aroma of roasting meat fills the air. The students stare in awe at the mountain of prey Teacher Huang hunted single-handedly. She seizes the moment to teach, explaining, "Combat training isn't just about fighting, it is a simulation of true wilderness survival. You must learn to source your own sustenance," she adds, exposing a critical oversight in the privileged student's mindset. The students grumble internally, thinking the school is simply being cheap by forcing them to consume monster meat instead of proper rations. As they dig in, they realize 2 seats are empty. Bayi and Xiyin have not yet returned to the safety of the camp. Teacher Huang sets aside portions for the missing students. Meanwhile, Xiyin expresses her shock at the instructor's lethal proficiency. Having assumed she was merely a theory teacher, Teacher Huang smiles continuously, denying any special talent, though she admits fear has no place on the battlefield. Her eyes drift to the fire as she reveals her past. "Before teaching, I dreamed of ascending to the Divine Guild, of standing tall as a divine officer. But destiny is cruel. My talent was insufficient to even qualify for the entrance exam. She whispers a secret to Xiyin. This trip is actually her first time venturing this close to the Shanghai nation. Through this expedition with her students, she has finally glimpsed the Holy Land she once worshipped from afar. Abruptly, her expression freezes. Glowing red eyes materialize in the darkness directly behind Xiyin. Instinct takes over. She shoves Xiyin aside and takes the fatal blow herself. A claw pierces right through her chest, shocking the students into paralyzed silence as the monster reveals itself. Suddenly, our hero sprints toward the group, his voice desperate as he screams a warning that a catastrophic B-class monster is on the hunt. Gritting her teeth through the agony, Teacher Hang commands the students to flee toward the nearest guild, terrified because this beast possesses human-like intelligence. It is known as Luna, a nightmare made flesh, and its presence spells certain doom for everyone within its radius. Hours earlier, as dawn broke over the barren zone, the senior disciple Zelling seethed with jealousy. Clutching a sinister container while our protagonist stole the spotlight he felt he deserved. Driven by envy, he shattered the sealing flask, commanding the creature inside to devour every ounce of spiritual energy in the zone to accelerate its growth. His twisted plan was simple: let them despair, then save them. He wanted them on their knees begging for help, proving once and for all that he was the true savior. But back in the present, terror grips Zelling's heart. The beast has evolved far beyond his calculations, growing into an uncontrollable calamity. While the teacher stands as a fragile shield for her students, our boy steels his nerves and prepares for battle. He knows what is coming, for in his previous life, he had faced down a catastrophic S-class spider demon. That ancient beast was a nightmare of perfect offense and defense, a master of stealth that took an entire army to subdue. In the world of martial arts, such a creature is known as a flawless all-rounder, possessing absolutely no weaknesses. He calculates the odds instantly, with the teachers and students capping at C-class. Fighting a B-class horror is a suicide mission. Even if he steps out of the shadows now, victory is far from guaranteed against such overwhelming power. And even if he wins, revealing his dual classes would send shockwaves through the heavens, drawing the unwanted gaze of the gods themselves. On the battlefield, the students collapse in agony. The monster's aura carries a paralyzing toxin, leaving the injured children helpless on the ground. Panic rises in our protagonist's chest as the gravity of the situation threatens to crush his resolve. It is a choice between life and death. The starving beast seeks fresh nutrients, locking its predatory gaze directly on Chi. The teacher throws herself in the way, but the creature simply pivots, opening its jaws to snap her in half instead. Just as the maw of death descends, a violent force slams into the beast's mouth, halting the bite and leaving the teacher stunned in disbelief. She looks up to see Bayi standing fearless. Having literally chopped the face of the monster, even the beast recoils in sheer shock. Our guy knows his raw strength cannot match a B-class monster, but he refuses to back down. He instantly shifts tactics, channeling his cloud element to seize control of the battlefield and restrict the beast's movements. With a roar, he unleashes his signature skill, Frost Nova, aiming to freeze the creature in its tracks. The crowd gasps as the monster is encased in solid ice. They stare at Bayi, wondering if he is some hidden nuclear-level warrior or a monster himself. June stammers, asking if he possesses dual elements, but our boy remains silent. He cannot let them die, even if it means exposing his deepest secrets. The teacher asks if he's okay, but suddenly, hairline fractures appear on the ice before it explodes outward. Debris flies, but the monster has vanished. Bayi shouts that the injured beast has engaged its stealth mode to recover. They must evacuate immediately. Staying means death, as no one present can match the creature's raw power. Teacher Hang ushers the students away, but hesitates, refusing to leave without Zealing, unaware of his treachery. Our boy turns to her, holding up the shattered remains of the containment flask, his eyes cold. He reveals the dark truth. Zelling released the monster. The betrayal stings, triggering memories of a comrade who stabbed him in the back in his past life. That traitor had poisoned their daily meals with paralysis powder, smiling while plotting their slaughter to take advantage of their trust. Now, history repeats itself in the cruelest way. The enemy is within their own ranks, and one of their own unleashed this hell. He points to the Xiong industrial seal stamped clearly on the broken shard as undeniable proof. That corporation is run by Zelling's father, a place known for preserving miniature monster specimens for research purposes. Since no outsider could access such a device, the culprit is undeniable. Nearby, Zelling watches the deduction unfold from the shadows. He realizes he is completely doomed, cursing himself for not throwing the evidence into the river when he had the chance. Yet, hatred outweighs fear. His jealousy burns hotter than ever against our boy, who always steals his glory. Hearing the group turn against him, a dark resolve forms in his mind. If he cannot be the savior, then Bayi certainly won't survive to be one either. Suddenly, Teacher Hang screams that they need to move out this instant. She hands the distress radio to Cheon to signal for backup, but a gunshot rings out. The device shatters, and blood sprays from Cheon's hand as the bullet strikes true. Our boy's eyes go wide with realization. Before they can react, Zilling hurls another glass canister into their midst. Green gas hisses into the air, expanding rapidly. Someone screams in horror. It is the dreaded paralysis powder. Through the emerald haze, Zilling steps forward like a demon, his face hidden behind a gas mask, ready to end them all. Darkness clouded his eyes as he hissed the brutal truth. Since Bayi had exposed his secret, nobody would leave this dungeon alive. The traitor was the architect of their doom, but our protagonist was already surging with power, asking with a chilling calm, "Do you really plan to slaughter us all?" The paralysis powder drifted through the air like a silent killer. Comrades collapsed one by one, coughing violently as their strength faded into nothing. Bayi's eyes scanned the canister, a Class B weapon meant for slaying beasts, yet Zilling had turned this lethal tool against his own flesh and blood. Bayi demanded an answer. Zilling, blinded by arrogance, confessed his twisted plan to incapacitate the Class B beast, save the day, and rise as a hero. But that delusional fantasy was shattered the moment our protagonist stepped onto the stage. Before Zilling could strike, Instructor Huang intervened. She pleaded desperately, hoping there was still humanity left in him. "It was a mistake. You don't want to become a murderer." But the traitor's bow shifted toward his own teacher. His eyes were wide with madness. "It is too late. Everything is already ruined." There was no turning back. Huang felt her limbs go heavy, the paralysis poison stripping away her ability to fight. Consciousness was slipping away, but Bayi did the unthinkable. He drove his blade into his own leg, using the sharp pain to shock his nervous system awake. Blood dripped as he looked at his teacher with grim resolve. "Save your breath. Some lines can never be uncrossed." Adrenaline flooded his veins. His voice thundered against the cavern walls. "No matter your excuse, you have no right to betray your brothers in arms." In a blur of motion, his blade flashed. Zelling's arrow was sliced out of the air. Mercy was not an option. Bayi severed the hand that held the bow as he declared death to traitors. His next strike carved across Zelling's chest. Zelling shrieked like a banshee, writhing in agony. He screamed that this disaster was all Bayi's doing, but our hero felt only cold rage. This coward dared to hide in the shadows, orchestrating the suffering of his own friends. Memories flooded Zelling's mind, watching his teammates bleed against the beast while he stood frozen in safety. The truth spilled out. Fear had paralyzed him. He believed he was too weak to ever win. He tried to beg, but Bayi silenced him forever. A swift strike took his tongue. The price for his sins would be paid in blood and silence. Zelling's eyes bulged in terror. He finally realized the monster standing before him. Bayi wasn't just fighting, he was executing. Bayi invoked the tertiary judgment, a divine punishment designed to strip a traitor of their very essence, their magical core. The blade fell, crippling his spirit circuits. Zilling collapsed, a powerless husk, silently screaming for salvation. Just as the final blow prepared to land, a scream pierced the air. Chien, Bayi snapped his head toward Instructor Huang. The nightmare had returned. The beast emerged from the shadows, clutching Chien in its deadly grasp. Bayi launched himself forward without a second thought, but his body betrayed him. The lingering poison weighed down his limbs like lead, slowing his blade just enough to fail. Yet, giving up was impossible. He was the only shield standing between his friends and death. He forced his body to move. Suddenly, a blur of lightning crashed down. A figure stood before him, slicing the monster's hide with a devastating strike. Huang let out a breath of relief. Gila had arrived. The lightning user faced the beast, admitting this Class B nightmare was too much for one warrior. She turned to our protagonist. "I need your blade." But as they prepared to coordinate their assault, the monster dissolved into thin air. Bayi shouted a warning. "Active camouflage. It changes its skin to match the environment. I have seen this trick before." The beast had retreated to heal. Gila's eyes darted to Bayi's bleeding leg, while Bayi watched his comrades succumb to the toxin around them. She was stunned. A mere student withstanding that level of poison, his willpower was absolute iron. She tossed him a high-grade recovery potion. "Drink." As the healing magic took effect, Gila cursed. "Where are the reinforcements?" There was no time to wait. Bayi sensed the predator nearby, draining nutrients from the dungeon to regenerate its strength. A shadow lunge from behind Bayi parried instantly. Gila followed up with a lightning strike, and Bayi unleashed a knockback skill, blasting the creature across the cavern. The beast was already standing. Gila gritted her teeth. It regenerates too fast. Can you keep up, rookie? Pain was irrelevant. Bayi's eyes burned with battle spirit. He was burning to dance with death alongside her. Your damage is high, Gila warned, but don't get cocky. You are still a student. Bayi smirked, sharp as a blade. So is the guy who just saved your flank. The monster roared. Insulted by their casual banter, Bayi didn't hesitate. Together now. His blade struck the beast's leg. Clang, it stopped dead. His eyes widened. He couldn't penetrate its armor. The impact threw him back. Before the beast could pursue, Gila charged in, her body wreathed in crackling thunder. Lightning struck scale, but the damage was 0. She froze in shock. Bayi screamed a warning. Dodge, but the beast was faster. A poisonous claw slammed into her, sending venom coursing through her veins. Flash blink Bayi materialized in front of Gila, catching the follow-up strike. The weight of the blow told him everything. This wasn't just regeneration. It had evolved to Class B warrior defense. It was a walking fortress. Even Gila's explosive lightning burst couldn't scratch it. They were in the presence of a true apex predator. His analytical gaze sharpens. The beast is ravenously devouring spiritual energy from the earth itself. Every second it feeds, its power multiplies. If he waits any longer, catastrophe is inevitable. Even if the guild acts now, they won't make it in time. With Helu critically injured, their options are vanishing. He must find a way to shatter that impenetrable defense on his own. Memory flashes back to a pivotal strategy meeting. He once asked his squad the ultimate question, what do we do when facing a foe we cannot defeat? A teammate suggested a tactical retreat, but Bai's eyes turned cold. For us, he declared, retreat is not an option. Then, he unveiled his insane strategy. I will unleash my full power to draw its aggro, he explained. I will force the beast to focus every ounce of its destruction solely on me. It is a high-stakes gamble. When the enemy commits fully to the kill, it exposes its own fatal weakness, an absolute trade-off between offense and defense. Back in the heat of battle, he activates swiftness, becoming a blur of motion. He isn't just attacking, he is hunting for that split-second opening. But suddenly, chaos ensues. Helu rushes in, threatening to unravel his perfect setup. Stay back, he roars, his voice commanding absolute obedience. You can't fight this alone, she screams. In her mind, logic wars with fear. He is just a green class warrior, a mere student. How can he stand against such a monster? Yet, a sudden realization strikes her like lightning. Even with her superior golden class awakening, she feels small before him. His presence dominates the battlefield like a true commander. Then, he does the unthinkable. He tosses his weapon aside and opens his arms to the beast. Blood spills, yet he stands firm. With a sharp gesture, he orders her to hold her ground. Helu freezes, utterly baffled by a suicidal tactic. The monster lunges, jaws wide to devour him. This is the moment Bayi screams the signal that turns the tide. Na-mu. Helu reacts on instinct. Her flash spirit ignites. Crackling electricity floods her veins, boosting her speed tenfold in a heartbeat. Our protagonist's calculation was god tier. He knew that, in its gluttonous rage, the monster's defense would drop to 0. He had spotted this flaw earlier. Back when it tried to consume Huang, it left itself open to Bai's strike. History repeats itself. This was his master plan all along. Offer himself as the bait, and strike when the predator becomes the prey. Helu strikes like a thunderbolt. Her electrolade pierces straight through the beast's heart. High voltage energy courses through it, locking every muscle in paralysis. The monster's defense has crumbled to dust. The path to victory is finally open. It is time for the execution. With the target immobilized, the end draws near. Helu cries out a warning. My paralysis won't hold, you only have seconds. Seconds are all I need, he declares with chilling calm. He rises from the debris. Suddenly, his aura shifts as he activates his second-class Cloud Mage. Flash freeze. Ice instantly encases the behemoth. Helu's eyes go wide with disbelief. Dual classes, is that even possible? He isn't done yet. The aura shifts again. Nuclear warrior mode engaged. The monster, exhausted and frozen, faces its doom. He swings his blade with the weight of a mountain sanctuary skill. The strike connects, and the monster is obliterated in a single breath. Victory golden light bathes him as he levels up. His stats skyrocket, and his wounds vanish as if they never existed. Helu stands trembling in the aftermath. 2 classes at his age. That is a realm reserved for the legends of legends. But he is about to shatter her reality completely. A third aura emerges. Flora Element Summoner. Having reached C class, his dominion now extends to 6 summons. With 4 slots open, he sets his sights on the fallen beast. He initiates the soul contract with the corpse spider. Submit to me, he commands. The spirit yields to his will. Corpse spider is too mouthful. He muses. From this day forth, your name is Chiagai. The newfound summon resonates with power, accepting its new identity with loyalty. Helu stammers, struggling to process the miracle she just witnessed. Bayi turns to silence her, but she speaks first. You hid all of this, she whispers. She realizes the terrifying truth. During the graduation assessment, you were holding back everything. It is crystal clear to her now. He is a dragon hiding among snakes, unwilling to show his claws to the world. Your secret is safe with me, she vows solemnly. Just then, reinforcements arrive. The Divine Guild Eastern Border 26th Regiment bursts onto the scene. A veteran member gasps, staring at the carnage. A B-class spider corpse. He looks at the students in disbelief. You 2 monsters killed this. Medical teams rush in. Potions are distributed, pulling the other students back from the brink of death. Roll call begins. Chien shivers, the terror of her near demise still clinging to her soul. I really thought I was a goner. Juan comforts her. It is a nightmare, but we woke up. The guild members shower Bayi and Helu with awe. Even a pro C-class team would struggle here, yet you rookies annihilated it. One by one, his classmates bow their heads. You saved our lives. They murmur with genuine gratitude. Helu is whisked away to the healers, her body battered but her spirit alight. Her teammate scolds her. You reckless fool, you could have died rushing in alone. Bayi steps in, his voice calm. The battle is won. Let the past remain in the past. The others marvel at Helu. That is the power of a golden class holder, a prodigy seen only once in a generation. They believe she is the hero who solved everything. But Helu gazes at Bayi from across the crowd. She knows who the true monster is. Just how deep does your power go, she wonders. The mystery of Bayi has only just begun to unravel. The count concludes, but a chill runs through the group. Wait, where is Zelling? The leader orders them to the train immediately. The search for the missing student begins now. Deep within the untamed wilds of the Barren Zone, a gruesome fate unfolds. Zhang meets his end, devoured by the very beast he foolishly unleashed. While the others find respite within the train's carriage, our protagonist focuses on his system interface. Having formed a soul contract with the corpse spider spirit, he sees the potential. With the right cultivation, this creature will become a lethal familiar on the battlefield. Following his recent victory, his mage class has advanced, yet the threshold to B class remains just out of reach. He scrutinizes his attributes. His cloud element mage class stands at level 22, perfectly matching his prowess as a nuclear warrior. His flora element summoner skill trails slightly at level 21. To break through these limits, he must now hunt monsters of C class or higher, but such prey is strictly controlled by the Divine Guild and the Great Clans. To find them, he must venture into the heart of the Shanghai nation. His destiny awaits across the border. The train plunges into the coastal tunnel, carrying him toward Shanghai. It feels like a lifetime has passed since he last walked these lands. Silently, he whispers to his former comrades, announcing his return. The engines hiss to a halt at the Divine Soldier Academy's eastern station. The sheer scale of the structure leaves the group in breathless awe. Yet, such opulence is to be expected from the wealthiest nation on the planet. They are greeted by none other than the Academy Dean himself. He will serve as their guide through this hallowed ground, the pinnacle of education for the awakened. While the Dean showcases the magnificent campus, Bayi's mind drifts to a darker place to the face of his greatest nemesis. Piecing together the timeline, he realizes the truth. That man must currently be enrolled as a student within these very walls. The anticipation of their inevitable meeting burns within him. Suddenly, The dean gestures toward a towering statue, Cadmus Thieves, the legendary ancestor of the Divine Thieves family. The students gaze up in reverence. Whispers ripple through the crowd, hoping for a chance to meet a descendant of such a prestigious bloodline. The dean's voice carries the weight of history as he recounts the legends of the past. When the demon dragon descended upon Earth, slaughtering humanity in a tidal wave of blood, it was Cadmus Thieves who slew the beast and pulled the world from the brink of extinction. From the ashes of war, he united the strongest warriors under the banner of the Divine Guild and founded this academy to forge the next generation of Awakened. With swelling pride, the dean declares that the Divine Soldier Academy stands unrivaled as the supreme institution for the Awakened. Exclusivity is their hallmark. Only 100 students between the ages of 12 and 18 are accepted, and all must possess at least B-class power to even survive the entrance exams. A gasp escapes one of the students. He barely clings to the edge of C-class, realizing just how distant the B-class summit truly is. Furthermore, achieving such power before the age of 18 is a feat bordering on the impossible for the average Awakened. Bayi remains lost in thought, focusing on Chris. That man had the terrifying talent required to walk these hallowed halls. He recalls the reports from his past life. His subordinates had spoken of Chris with fear, describing him as one of the Academy's most monstrous graduates. The realization settles in his gut like lead. Chris is not just a student, he is a prodigy of frightening power. Yet, in this timeline, Chris is still just a student. Bayi's eyes harden with resolve. He must reach B-class immediately to crush his rival before he fully ascends. He will enroll here, no matter the cost. Beside him, Chian watches his expression, wondering if he truly has a plan to breach the Academy's ironclad gates. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifts. A sharp-suited secretary approaches, demanding to know why Chian hasn't visited her father the moment she set foot in Shanghai. Chian flushes with embarrassment, her cover blown in front of everyone. The dean bows respectfully to the newcomer, recognizing the authority of General Chen's office. The messenger delivers grave news her father has been ill for 2 days. Shock pales her face. Without a second thought, she dives into the waiting limousine, speeding away to be by his side. The onlookers are left stunned. For the dean to show such deference to a mere secretary, Chian's family background must be terrifyingly influential. Moments later, another sleek luxury vehicle screeches to a halt. A group of flashy students steps out, radiating arrogance, despite the dean's reprimand for their tardiness. Their leader scoffs, haughtily claiming that their grueling nightly training in the labyrinth is to blame for their fatigue. He casually dismisses their lateness as a minor oversight, expecting the dean to simply accept their excuses. This pilgrimage was intended as a gesture of unity, a joint event between schools from 2 very different nations. Representing Shanghai Nation is the Eastern Border Supreme Private Academy. The visitors can only stare in awe at the locals' high-end designer gear. The dean attempts to introduce the guests from Jiang Nation, but the Shanghai leader cuts him off with a sneer, labeling them as nothing more than country bumpkins from common stock. Hang freezes, his eyes widening in disbelief as he learns the truth. The entire Supreme Private Academy consists of only 5 students. The elites mock the visitors, laughing at their backward nation that surely has no concept of such exclusive education. This institution exists solely to serve these 5 nobles, pouring an entire nation's worth of resources into their cultivation. He sneers, spitting out that public school peasants could never comprehend the privilege of true elites. One of the Jiang students steps forward, voice trembling with rage at the insult to their homeland. The Shanghai student merely laughs, flaring his aura. He boasts that he is already a level 30 C-class, standing on the very threshold of breaking through to B-class. This arrogant elite is already eyeing a spot at the legendary Divine Soldier Academy, treating his visit as a mere formality. He aggressively demands to see the rankings, forcing the instructors to reveal the gap in power between them. Rather than introducing himself, he lets his elite squad step forward, a unit specifically built to rival the geniuses of Shanghai. The pompous brat claims his team has already achieved a state of perfect combat synchronization. He boasts that they crushed a D-class dungeon just yesterday, a feat that threatens to shatter the middle school records. His lackey sneers, declaring it a waste of time to speak with commoners who have never even seen the inside of a labyrinth. The students from the Jiang Nation grit their teeth, humiliated by the overwhelming arrogance of these nobles. The girl twists the knife, reminding them that her squad is destined for divine blessed status, while the rest are born to rot in mediocrity. This catches Bayi's attention. He knows that every mortal without a drop of divine blood craves that status, the absolute peak of the social hierarchy. In his past life, Bayi had already ascended to that very summit. But in this timeline, he refuses to bow his head or serve as a dog to any divine family. Suddenly, a deafening roar from the sky interrupts his thoughts as an exclusive luxury transport from the divine clan descends, stunning the crowd. Lin Fong, a blessed one from the Thebes clan, steps out, his gaze sweeping over the trembling students until it lands on one person. The crowd whispers in confusion, wondering who could possibly command the attention of a god's descendant, until Bayi steps forward. Lin Fong is already aware that Bayi solo cleared a D-class labyrinth during the simulation, a feat that has piqued the interest of the high nobles. He extends a personal invitation to the Great Hunt, a prestigious event hosted by the divine family itself. The Shanghai students turn pale, forced to swallow their insults as they realize this commoner has achieved the impossible on his own. Before they can recover, Lin Fong ushers Bayi toward the airship, treating him as an honored guest. History records that, centuries ago, a magical cataclysm struck the world, unleashing hordes of monsters that brought humanity to its knees. Mortal weapons were useless, just as extinction seemed inevitable. 5 celestial deities descended to Earth and annihilated the beasts. They remained to safeguard the realm, and in return, humanity began to worship them as living gods. These deities bestowed forbidden knowledge upon the people, teaching them to harness power, form armies, and establish a new order. To solidify their rule, they intermingled with humans, passing down their godlike genes. Their descendants form the divine clans of today, the absolute rulers who hold the fate of the world in their hands. Back in the present, Kivon is consumed by jealousy and demands to join the expedition alongside Lin Fong. He argues that a mere commoner has no right to step onto holy ground, let alone witness the sacred hunt. Lin Fong calmly explains that since the pilgrimage is hosted by the Thebes family, every student technically has the right to observe. He graciously opens the invitation, allowing anyone with the courage to visit the Divine Guild to tag along. The Jiang students are thunderstruck, realizing they have a once-in-a-lifetime chance to enter the forbidden territory of the gods. Even the elite squad feels a shiver of excitement, knowing they are about to tread where only the highest nobles are usually permitted. Moments later, they arrive at the floating metropolis Sky City, the domain of the Thebes family. The 5 great deities divided the world among themselves, and the Shanghi nation belongs to the descendants of Cadmus Thebes. This clan commands the world's strongest guild and holds an iron grip over the Divine Soldier Academy. They possess absolute authority over the military selection process and the defense of the nation. Every awakened warrior in the country falls under their supreme jurisdiction. Bayi realizes that his performance in the exams was too explosive to ignore. The eyes of the gods are now fixed upon him. However, the reason they chose the chaotic Great Hunt as the venue for this meeting remains a mystery. His classmates gaze in awe at the opulence surrounding them, but Bayi's focus snaps to the elite security team guarding the perimeter. He steels himself for the encounter. Standing before a painting of the Mona Lisa is Shin Thebes, the heir to the clan. The guards announce the student's arrival, but the heir doesn't even flinch or turn around. Instead, he muses philosophically about his grandfather's teachings, claiming that art is the only true footprint humanity leaves behind. While his father believes ruins are the legacy of man, Shin believes that the act of creating those ruins is the true art form. The students are bewildered by his cryptic words, but the nobles instinctively bow, terrified by his overwhelming presence. Bayi studies him coldly, recognizing that this man stands at the very apex of the food chain. Lin Fong breaks the tension, leading the group toward the ground level and into the heart of the Sky Central District, the hunting grounds. The spectators gasp in pure awe. Behind shimmering barriers, terrifying beasts rage against their confinement. But in the VIP section, a different kind of power has arrived. 2 other lineages of the gods have descended. The twin prodigies of the Ode clan, Ace Ode and Ali Ode, murmur amongst themselves, analyzing the prey. Beside them sit the heirs of the Jin family, the imposing Lark Jin and the elegant Alice Jin. Bayi narrows his eyes. To see the scions of 3 distinct deity clans standing on the same ground, this is an anomaly that screams of hidden agendas. Silence falls as Lin Fong steps forward. The rules of the Great Hunt are about to be unveiled, and the drums of war begin to beat. This colossal arena is no playground. It is a slaughterhouse where awakened clash with beasts. Every monster here is rank C, captured, raised, and starved by the Divine Guild itself. Warriors of the C rank caliber have gathered from every corner of the globe. They are here for one purpose: to hunt. The scoring system is brutal but simple. 10 points for every life extinguished. The victor will be the one standing atop the highest mountain of corpses when the time runs out. A ripple of realization hits the students. These gladiator participants possess the exact same power level as them. The reality of the gap in resolve begins to sink in. Whispers spread through the crowd like wildfire. They marvel at the sheer audacity of challengers willing to face monsters of equal rank. But Lin Feng drops the final bombshell. Since this hunt honors the festival day, the Thieves family has put forth a reward that defies imagination. The gates open. 12 warriors from foreign nations march onto the stage. Lin Feng introduces them like legends. The students watch, breathless, seeing humans ready to solo an army of hundreds. The danger is absolute, but so is the greed. Rumors fly that the prize pool includes S-rank equipment, gear that could change a warrior's destiny forever. In the ultimate honor, the champion may receive a direct boon from the divine family itself. Some pray just to survive the day, but amidst the sea of faces, Shin Thieves locks his gaze on one person. He stares directly at our boy. He turns to Bayi. He acknowledges the feat of clearing the D-class labyrinth, but words are wind. Shin demands a demonstration. He orders Bayi to slaughter a C-class monster right here, right now. The nobles gasp, stunned by this sudden command. Hilu's eyes widen. She finally understands why Bayi was invited to this blood sport. It was never about spectating. She knows he is capable. He has already felt a B-class nightmare, but then a shockwave goes through the stands. Bayi refuses Shin Thieves' recommendation. He has no interest in being a circus act. He declares his intent to enter the Great Hunt directly, to fight not one, but all of them. The nobles lose their minds, but up in the VIP box, Ace and Ally lean forward, their eyes gleaming with interest. Our protagonist knows exactly what he is doing. To evolve, he needs high-level prey. C-class monsters are the fuel he desperately lacks. This isn't a test, it is an all-you-can-eat buffet of experience points. Furthermore, the children of 3 deities are watching. This is the perfect stage to showcase his dominance and etch his name into their memories. Suddenly, a hand shoots up. Hu volunteers to join the fray. Lu steps forward as well, refusing to be left behind. The nobles recoil in horror as these students casually sign their own death warrants. Shin Thieves scans their data. They are rank C awakened. By the laws of the guild, they are qualified. A smirk plays on his lips. He finds their courage amusing and grants permission. The elite students seethe with jealousy. Kivon gritted his teeth, his pride wounded. He knows the Divine Clan selects talent directly. He suspects Bayi and his squad are cutting in line, trying to steal the glory that belongs to the elite. Impatience burns through him. Kivon haughtily demands to join the hunt as well. Lin Feng's expression turns grave as he issues a final warning. Once they step onto those grounds, there is no safety net, no teleportation devices, no rescue, only victory or death. The leader sneers. If these commoners can handle C-class beasts, then he, a prodigy, will crush them. Just then, a new announcement shakes the arena. 8 more challengers appear, 5 elites from the Shanghai Nation, 3 from the Jiang Nation. The deity children sit up straight. The game has just become infinitely more interesting. Larkjin turns to the twins. He demands to know where they are placing their bets. Without hesitation, they bet 1 million each on the Shanghai students. Their logic is sound. Those students receive education second only to the gods. They are predators among sheep. But Shin Thieves defies expectations. He places his wager on Bayi. The twins mock him, laughing that he is throwing his money into the fire. Lark rubs his chin, conflicted. In this chaotic gamble, who truly holds the winning hand? Suddenly, Lin Feng freezes. A cold sweat breaks out. He forgot to warn the newcomers about the central dark forest. He shakes it off, assuming no one would be foolish enough to wander into that hellscape. The gates close behind them. The private academy students immediately distance themselves from the Jiang Nation group. Their mage is trembling. Fear is written all over her face. Kivon snaps at her. He reminds her of their past victories against D-class bosses. He insists C-class grunts are nothing more than those bosses in standard form. He commands her to stick to the formation. His arrogance is blinding. He is determined to show these foreigners the might of the local elite. They march down a separate path, away from the so-called arrogant pricks. But suddenly, Bayi halts. His heart hammers against his ribs like a war drum. He freezes, his senses screaming. Hu asks what is wrong, but he waves her off. This is not fear. It is an instinct. Lu turns to the group. He proposes a formal alliance. Ever since Bayi rejected the elite squad, Hilly has been anxious. She looks at Bayi with intensity. She wants to fight by his side. She knows this is her only chance to witness true power. Lu asks for his decision. But elsewhere in the arena, the elite group comes face to face with their first nightmare. Their leader, Kevin, a powerful C-class nuclear mage, commands the squad to synchronize their movements. Suddenly, a terrifying presence descends. A level 25. Cloud Elemental Behemoth launches a surprise ambush. One teammate channels every ounce of his power into a single strike. He unleashes the deadly Poison Abyss Slash, carving a deep wound into the monster's hide. He even seizes the opening instantly. He casts Frost Realm, locking the beast in a prison of ice. The archer and swordsman step forward, weapons primed for the kill. They strike in perfect unison. A lethal poison bolt flies true, paired with a devastating blade infused with Aqua Key. But the finisher belongs to the leader. Kevin conjures a massive fireball, hurling the blazing bomb with destructive force. An enormous explosion engulfs the creature, incinerating it completely. As the dust settles, the loot drops appear. They secure an Ice Dragon Humerus and a Frost Dragon Tail. For the kill, Kevin secures 10 crucial points. He turns to his squad with a confident smirk. To him, this victory was inevitable for elites of their caliber. The team buzzes with excitement over their success and the 10 points earned. Kevin reassures them, promising that the next kill and the glory will belong to them. High on victory, they check the rankings board, but their smiles vanish instantly. Shock freezes them as they see the top 3 names. Dominating the summit are none other than the students from the Zhong Nation,